Hello everyone and welcome to Fleet's Catch-Up Ramblings. Yes, Fleet is back at it again, catching up with Ramblings. Working through the questions that we didn't get to earlier in the week. Let me just let the world know what is going down in Chinatown. Let me just make sure that the world knows what is going on. Oh, cool. Marvellous. Oh, we can have polls and stuff. Oh, good lord. Luckily, of course, I am in control, so I don't have to worry too much about things like that. But, yeah. There we go. And then, of course, we will let the Twitter account know. Right, now then, with all that out of the way, let's make sure that we get the Discord audience in. Ah, excellent. Someone I need to stick around is here. Good. Right, so. Hello, Sea Dodders. Hello, Lion. Hello, Darth Sidious. Professional Annoyer is talking about gambling ships on Discord, which is a bit weird. No one on YouTube, sadly, but, well, it's the catch-up ramblings. Alright, you may ask your usual question. Let's hear it. Come on. I'm waiting. You have to say it. You can't just sit there and not say it. Alright, fine. His usual question is cereal a soup? No, cereal is not a soup. Christ, you make him out a communications officer and suddenly he completely loses his marbles. Then again,
It's not even a liquid. How can it be a soup?
Don't worry, Fleet, he's just taking after you.
You know what? I can't even be mad at that dragon. You're bloody right.
Cereal can't be a soup. It's not a liquid. What are you talking about?
I know. That's what I said. I said it wasn't a soup. That is one of the. Let me just see. Find dragon. There we go. Pinned messages because I pinned the document. Yes, there we go. Now we're cooking on gas. All right. Okie dokie. Fleet of Oceans. Switch over to my main account. There we go. God, how long is this document gonna be in? Like a year or two? I dread to think. Oh my God! Look how many we have. So many ramblings. I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay. So we did that. Oh, yeah, because I put it with an A. Okay, Rambling 65. We got a decent number of questions to get through, so I can spend a decent amount of time on each. Okay. Well, I suppose we can start with this one. What is each member of the panel's favourite DDG, and why? Guided Missile Destroyer. Look, I know it's the basic bitch option, but I'm sorry. You can't go wrong with a Burke. It's a classic.
Type 82.
I mean, with that just leaves you, Chair. The Type 82's never entered service, though, Dragon.
HMS Bristol did.
Yes, but
And she was officially classed as a DDG.
yes, but I suppose favorite has no bearing on capability, so I can totally. stand
And
behind
it
that.
doesn't actually mention enter service.
True.
That's
So
also true.
Type 83 is also a pretty good pick, but I do just like What
well,
is
I
going
don't
on
really
in
have.
the... What is going on in theatre at sea? You text chat. Yep,
I mean,
we know what Bismarck is. Wonder of the seas. No, Bismarck is many things, but Wonder of the seas she is not. Overbuilt battleship that is 10,000 tons heavier at least than she should be. Yes. Wonder of the seas is not. Okay. Remember, this is the catch-up
I guess
ramblings.
counterclass.
Remember, this is the catch-up ramblings, so we will not be moving on to normal questions until we have caught up on the questions that we need to work through. Did the British or Canadians ever consider buying the F-102 Delta Dagger, and were there any provisions to export the F-106 Delta Dagger in a similar manner? Let me have a look. Do a quick search.
Introduced.
Yeah, I'm just
56.
having a look,
Yeah.
seeing if anyone bought it. Yeah. So. I didn't realise F-102 served in Vietnam. More you know.
I don't think the British really looked at this.
So the Greeks acquired it, and so did the Turks, which is kind of funny. Both sides pointing the same aircraft at each other. But
It introduced in America 2 months after the Javelin, so
probably not for the British then. And I think the Canadians.
yeah. I mean, at this point, Britain is still looking at. Well, Britain's always looking at domestic designs over.
Yeah. And let me see the F.
I think just the Phantom was just so good that they couldn't really help themselves.
No, let me have a look. Were there any provisions for F? Nope, the F-106 was purely a US operated aircraft, and I don't believe there were, from what I can see from just a quick scan over the interwebs, there were no attempts to market or sell the F-106 abroad. Okay, I'm just going to keep checking on the chat so I don't miss anything. We all wonder how they got so little capability from such a ship. Yes, you're damn right. Okay, so I'm just putting A next to that so that I've answered it. In your estimation, what iterations of the German Navy was the most efficient from a perspective of balance of forces? It's... In terms of efficiency, from balance of forces?
I mean,
that's a toss-up between the Imperial German Navy prior to World War One and the German Navy after reunification in 1990.
because they've not really had a very good navy apart from those times.
Yeah.
You've either got the crack box of the interwar navy, the
insanity of the
Nazi
Kriegsmarine, which wasn't
thieves
efficient.
fest.
The Bundesmarine during the Cold War, which while it was decent, always played second fiddle to the here because, well, the Russians are right there. It's only after
you're not going to need a navy against the Soviets.
It's only after reunification where German ships have had to really play on the high seas with the rest of NATO and posture as far afield as the South China Sea that you see the German Navy really come into its own again. And the last time it was that was during the Imperial era. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a tie-up between those two periods. In terms of
I'd probably say
efficiency.
Imperial just because they had more of an idea of what they were doing.
Yeah, I think that's probably a decent answer.
Yeah, because reunification navy was sort of oh crap, we've got a bunch of East German ships now. Like, because I reckon probably derailed things like reunification derailed a lot of the here's like the whole doing away with G11 because like, oh yeah, brilliant new gun. Oh wait, no, hang on, we've got a shit ton of AKs now. New plan.
Yeah. Sell all of the AKs. What did the Bundesmarine even get from the East German Navy? I think what was left, including some domestically built designs. Because remember, these Germans actually became very good at building missile boats. The East Germans became very good at building missile boats and exported them widely, including to the Russians. Which is weird when you think about it, but that's the way it went. Hello, Stephen Mayer on YouTube. Nice to see you. So, next question. Trafalgar quiz. During the Battle of Trafalgar, when and where was Admiral Nelson shot? Well, I don't know exactly when. I believe it was just after Victory had untangled herself from the French flagship, but not before the battle was over. Because the untangling of the ships... Because I believe the untangling of the ships was what allowed the marksman who shot Nelson to actually draw a clear bead on the man. I believe it was a musket round, not a rifle round, and I believe he was hit.
The French didn't have rifles.
I thought they had. I thought they were working on them. Not...
Napoleon didn't really like rifles, and they were never. Well, they were never adopted for the infantry, so I don't see why they'd go to sea.
Oh, fair enough.
Because you need accuracy even less at sea.
Yeah. So the musket ball, I believe, was. I think everyone agrees that it was fired from a mast top. Not sure by who.
Well, someone in the fighting tops.
Yeah, someone in the fighting tops.
About halfway up.
Yeah, and it hit him in the shoulder, didn't it? And shattered a bunch of ribs, really messed him up internally. It wasn't. It got
itself embedded back near his spine, I think.
Yeah, so, it was not a quick or a painless death. Next question is a bit of an interesting one. Is Superman relevant in the modern world? I'd argue, given the message of acceptance, power with responsibility, aspiring to a goal greater than that you were born to, of being polite and kind to everyone, even though you would have the power to obliterate anyone in front of you and have your will be manifest across the planet, is arguably more, not less, important now than it ever has been.
It all sounds far more complex than my feeble little brain can deal with.
What if Lexington CV2 survived the battle damage that historically sank her? You've basically... Congratulations, the Americans have another carrier. She will not...
But this one's slightly faster.
She will not be ready for Midway. If she's survived the damage that sank her, she's basically battered, bruised, and broken. She will need a lot of work to bring her back to operational capability. So Midway will basically run as historical, and then after that you've got just more American carriers. How that affects the individual battles going forward, it will depend entirely on how she's used and how long it takes to bring her back into service. But having another flight deck cannot hurt. Oh, okay, this next question is leaving me scratching my head. But... okay. What if Germany fought on the Allied side during World War II while the Soviets fight on the Axis side? What happens? Well, there is no Axis because the Japanese and the Italians are going to take one look at the Soviets being on the same team and them as go, same team as them without the Germans and go, no, no. Secondly, we have to ask, why is Germany not an Axis power? Because, like, there are several alternate histories that I could... It's like Germany and the Russians working together. Actually, they came very close to doing exactly that. Obviously,
they did. They invaded Poland together.
No, I mean full Axis member for a little bit.
They came to terms and went,
yeah,
fine, Eastern Europe, let's cut it up.
The only way this happens is basically if the Weimar Republic survives. And if that's the case, then there is no Axis. The Italians are sat there doing not much, because without the Axis, they really have to play it cool in regards to what they do in Europe. They might get away with it. They'll get away with what they got away with historically, but moving into Greece and Yugoslavia, might be a little bit too much. They might not do that. You're basically left with Japan and the Soviets versus the world. Because Japan's still going to do Japan things, which will lead to Pearl Harbor without much change. And I'm sorry, but I just look from a point of view of sheer morality, I can't countenance the idea that the Allied powers are going to sit there advancing with the Third Reich into Russia and not immediately turn around and go home the moment the Germans start machine gunning villages full of children. So it has to be some form of Weimar government that isn't looking to kill everything.
Yeah, one would have to
elsewhere.
assume things are very different.
Yeah.
Mm.
And if that's the case, then what you've basically got is Stalin basically... You've basically... Congratulations, it's Red Alert 2. So it's not Red Alert, it's Red Alert 1. It's the Second World War from Red Alert 1.
Just now with less time travel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, that only ends one way. Russia gets its shit rocked in incredibly short order. Because Britain can basically play second fiddle, backfilling the French and the Germans with rifles and guns. Heck, maybe just the Germans. Literally, if this is what's happening, it won't even be the Allies. You'll basically just have Germany, Poland, Romania, the Baltic states, Finland going, no, we just say no, and then you'll have the British and the French basically backfilling Germany with weapons because, yes, this might rearm the Germans, but they're fighting the Soviet Union. Whatever Germany emerges after this conflict is not going to be a threat to them once the dust settles.
I think it's interesting seeing what the British Expeditionary Forces are doing. There might be a fun little bimble up through Afghanistan.
Oh yeah, just
Yeah, the Indian Army just sort of comes swarming through Afghanistan towards like Ekaterinburg or something. Well, yeah, Kazakhstan in general, but
I mean, of course, and then you've got the British protecting Iran. Yes, this is protection, we swear. Ignore the fact that we're rewriting the borders temporarily. Honestly, Gov. Because the Russians are coming the other way, don't you know? And you don't want them.
That's a nice Vladivostok you got there. Shame if someone would do something to it.
Oh yeah, like no, because the Japanese are going to be sat there, and the British will not want to send.
But are they going to be at war at the start?
No, but
the question is, what are the Japanese doing if there's a British battle fleet cruising around the Sea of Japan,
blowing up Russian merchant ships,
blowing up Russian shipping? Are they? Yeah,
it's
the increased attention on the Pacific.
Yeah, the problem that, like, this is the problem. Like it's an interesting scenario, but I would need slightly more context as to why to actually really have a crack at it. Because one of the things I was asked to do by one of my subscribers, Ramal, on YouTube, was to go into alternate history scenarios in more detail. The problem is, though, I need a little bit more to work with than just flipping the sides around.
Like, it's fine if you say, what if just the Nazis... Like, I think we can also do some really wild ones if you just say, ignore certain aspects.
Yeah, like, for example, there's a really easy way to make this happen. Not many people know this, but the person running against Adolf Hitler for Chancellor of Germany in 1933 was a man called Hugo Echner. Hugo Echner was the head of the Zeppelin Company. And even though the Nazis won, Echner didn't do half bad. Now imagine a Germany that's linked together the old and new continents with Zeppelin routes, that has reintegrated itself into the national economies of the world, whose pride is in its engineering skills rather than its martial prowess, but still maintaining that Prussian culture. That's the sort of Germany I could imagine absolutely turning around and going, no, Russia, actually, I don't think I'm going to allow you to just bully people. And also, you know, there's the whole, if we help the Poles, maybe, just maybe, they might actually consent to give us some of our land back. Maybe. Just maybe. Right, so the Russian aerospace and shipbuilding industries can't produce MiG-35K to replace MiG-29K and Fulcrum D and Su-33 Flanker D. How likely is it that Russian carrier aviation will die off? First of all, what brain-dead idiot is trying to put a MiG-35 on a carrier?
Can you guess who asked this question?
Knight, by any chance?
Yes.
No.
To be fair, why would they not put a MiG-35 on the carrier?
Because the MiG... Isn't the MiG-35, not even flown yet? Oh no, it has.
It's just a modernized MiG-29 in essence.
You can put a MiG-35 on a carrier.
There's no reason to. Why would you do it? But
Because,
you can.
I mean, to be blunt, my goal would be get the MiG-35 into serial production, and then bring... And as MiG-29s come out of service, you convert them to MiG-29K. Also, I will point out, because Netsov has given up a lot of their crew to serve in a naval infantry brigade, I don't think Russian carrier aviation is dead, because that would basically require them to admit it is dead. And
There's just a lot of priorities that Putin has to put in front of naval carrier aviation.
yeah, this is the thing. A capability is only dead unless a country is willing to admit that it is. And that therefore, because if they don't admit that, then there is always the possibility of investment reviving that capability. That's the long and short of it, basically. Out of the Su-33 Flanker D and the MiG-29K Fulcrum D, which would you kill off to save Russian money? Oh, the Flanker. Absolutely. It's a very expensive show pony when the MiG-29 can do everything the Russian Navy needs it to do for being far cheaper and more rugged. It's also easier to fly.
I don't know about that one, but yeah.
From what I can tell, Yuki, technically speaking, the MiG-35 is in serial production.
Just
And by
about.
serial production, they made 6 of them
Yeah, the
that are
whole...
in serial production.
Yeah,
line.
the war in Ukraine kind of put a kibosh on the whole thing.
On a lot of things.
Mm.
It's getting pretty bad right now.
Yeah.
And don't worry, it's only been produced since 2016, and they've made a grand total, including all test models, of 8 of them.
To be fair, they're probably making the right choice to actually produce, even in limited numbers, Su-57. Like, it may not be the best thing since sliced bread, but it's definitely more capable than some of their other superiority assets. A step up in capability is a step up in capability, even if it's not
I guess
equivalent.
technically true, but
I mean,
they've only managed to make, like, including all of the prototypes, they've only made 32 57s.
Well,
They're not
to
doing
be fair,
great there either.
Yeah, I
for
know.
them, the most important thing is that they are making them. It
As
doesn't
long
matter
as-
how
As long as
slow
the,
they're making
yeah,
them.
as long as the production line doesn't stop, the technology and the technical skills and the infrastructure remain, and the supply chain remains in place. And that's what matters. We saw China do a similar thing at a larger scale with the J20. They started off slow and then gradually scaled up. Now, Russia may not be able to do the same thing, given their problems, chronic problems, lots of problems.
To be fair, the J-20 suffers from a different problem the Su-57. But yes, generally speaking, it is about the same idea.
Yeah. I mean, they are both 5th generation aircraft, because remember, stealth is a characteristic of 5th gen, but it's not the only thing that makes an aircraft a 5th gen.
Hmm. It's still should have some capabilities better than... Well, it's better than anything else they've got.
Yeah.
In theory.
But the thing that makes S-57 quite good for the Russians is it does have the data link. it can actually talk to other assets in a way that some of the Russian aircraft cannot. That's why it's a 5th gen. You can laugh about anything else, but the fact is that's a fact. It may not be stealthy, but it can talk to other assets in a way that 5th gens are supposed to be able to. I'd still argue the SU-57 is still a threat. Calling the SU-57 not a threat is a gross underestimation of the platform, I think, because it's still a capable aircraft. It may not be stealthy, but I wouldn't like to fight one in a Phantom. I wouldn't like to fight one in an old F-18 for that matter. Yeah. Hello, Knight. Nice to see you. Well, yes, there's a lot of... Yeah, the MiG-35K would be, but I'm sorry, Knight, just because the MiG-29s are old, that doesn't mean that the Russians will replace them. Because, well, it's
They don't
proven
have the
tech.
capability to replace them at the moment.
Yuki, it's not about fighting its competitor. It's really not a top trumps matchup here. That's really the wrong way to think about it. It's not SU. Yeah, it's not SU-57 versus F-35 or F-22. It's SU-57 as an asset to the Russian VKS.
It is a platform.
Yeah, when the worst it's got to fight is
the majority of NATO's platform,
and it's not got much in the air in Ukraine that can
theoretically threaten it
anywhere near, 5th gen. So,
yeah. I mean, when they were used in a manner that we would recognise 5th gen aircraft as being used for. They said a lot of people were highlighting, oh, it's far back from the front line, and it's engaging at long range, and it's bombing ground targets and stuff, and it's, oh, how silly the Russians using these 5th gen aircraft like that. And then I stop them and I go, no other Russian platform could function like that, because they don't have data link, apart from the Su-34s.
And I've seen a lot of videos of those things are falling out of the sky.
Yeah.
At the start of this war. So
this is something that I've gradually been pulling myself up to the mark on over the last year and a bit, moving away from this. Problem is, Knight, that they've produced 6. The MiG-35 program is running painfully slowly, and we likely won't see any fallout into inventory until after the Russo-Ukrainian war freezes/ends. But yeah, one of the things I keep having.
We may never see them at all again.
Oh no, I know. Whatever form a Russian state takes after the Ukrainian war is over, in whatever form that is, I have no doubt will actually procure MiG-35 in reasonable numbers. But it'll be procuring that to replace a large swathe of platforms, including things that it will be a reduction in capability to, if that makes sense. Because they will need to reconstitute their air force, and there'll be certain assets that will be war-torn that cannot be replaced with peers. MiG-31 comes to mind. Why would they license the MiG-25? MiG-25 is an old platform. It's a really old platform. I don't think it's in service with anybody.
Don't worry about it. Venom speaking out of his ass again.
But anyway, I think we spent enough time on this question. If the QEs were completed with small tube boilers and did 26 plus knots, are they battle cruisers in 1914? No. As Dr. Clark says, this is his opinion on it, a battle cruiser is determined by... Benno, China already has much better aircraft than the MiG-35. Why would they get something worse than what they already operate?
And overall, it's China. China isn't going to license stuff unless they know there is a technological gap that they cannot, conjure up domestically.
But yes, the Kiwis would not be battle cruisers even if they do 26 knots. They're fast battleships.
What's wrong, Fleet? Do you not like the next question?
Well, the big
Yeah,
thing about
I'm not
small
touching that with a
two-boiler
10-foot
Kiwi-
pole because that's not really a.
Oh, but your viewers asked it of you.
That's.
The big thing about small two-boiler QE is that it might actually put the Admiralty into the fast battleship concept much earlier, and it might actually kill off battlecruiser earlier than
Not
into the 30s.
Not really.
No.
It would no. You would end up seeing is a movement to try and get the battle line up to the 28 knots, but you would still see battle cruisers because
Well,
the British
no.
Admiralty likes the idea of 32, 33 knot capital ships.
Yeah, it's the goalposts just move. Basically. So the next question is interesting, and I can't really comment on it, but I'll read it aloud and say I don't know why, because that's what my answer is. The question
This was
is,
word by Wellesley, by the way.
Yeah, the question is, why is John F. Kennedy so hot? Answer, I have no idea, and that is not something I am qualified to comment on, as I am a straight man.
You do you. No further comment because I've got no comment to give.
Exactly. Thoughts on the FDR?
No, bye.
Thoughts on the FDR train? So that's the train from the political cartoon when they were talking about re-electing FDR to finish the war. And it's depicted as a streamlined engine. I don't really have any thoughts on it per se. It's just it's a political cartoon, so the message.
I find it
matters
sexier than
more.
JFK.
If any of the pre-war US heavy cruisers had been saved, which would each of the panel members choose and why? Well, personally for me, it's not a New York Central Streamliner, UK. It's a four-coupled engine, and the New York Central never operated any four-coupled Streamliners. It is not a specific.
Do I hear the sounds of a Hiawatha?
Yeah, it is not a specific class of engine. It is a generic streamliner based on whatever the designers would have, whatever would seem attractive. I am aware it's inspired by certain thing. It's a generic streamliner. You could view it as a Hudson. You could view it as a Hiawatha. You could view it as like it's not that deep.
GS4, if you
Yeah,
really want, but probably
Yeah,
not.
it's really not. It's not supposed to be a specific engine. It's just a sleek.
It's every man's streamliner.
Yeah, it's just the streamliner. It's not a specific thing. Yeah. If any of the US pre-war cruisers have been saved, which of the panel members choose and why? Honestly, for me, no, Yuki, that's not. I wasn't. No.
That getting sidetracked.
Anyway, honestly, to be blunt, I want to see the Pensacola's. And the reason I say that is because that's where it all started. And I would love for them to be preserved. As an example of this is where we started, and then we have the Des Moines, as this is where we ended.
No. Too ugly.
But that's not... It's...
Far too ugly of a ship. Give me the Wichita any day.
I mean, as a one-off, she would be nice to have preserved, but like I said, I've stated my reasons for asking that the Pensacola's be preserved. Like, that's my reasoning for why.
Personally, I despise the look of the New Orleans and the Portlands and Pensacola's. They just do not look nice. I also hate their idea of stacking triples over twins, which they like doing.
Yeah, well, that's personal opinion. That's the.
I wouldn't say they like doing. They only did it to the Pepsis.
Pepsi. Peps. The Pepsi. The Pepsi.
Those are the only two that they did it to.
The Pepsi.
Everybody.
Indeed. I also just do
literally
not like the look of the Northampton or Portland class. And the New Orleans also doesn't look great in my opinion. They just look strange.
I
Not
think
really.
I think it's just mostly down to the minimalist superstructure design.
I also just don't like the way their triples look. Their turrets just look very strange to me.
Yeah, that's something. I mean, I can.
Okay.
But Wichita being that one unique ship, this is basically the pinnacle of pre-war cruiser development, is far more interesting to me. And you can very much see how it basically directly into the next class.
Yeah,
yes.
I can get that, but like I said, I have my own reasons for.
Stupid, sexy jesters.
So, another stupid question relating to the Deutschlands. No, that's not my opinion. That is actually included in the question. Could you refit them with 15-inch guns later in history, similar to the Scharnhorst, if you build them up in that way?
Technically.
Technically,
I guess.
Technically,
But
you
for gun?
could. Technically, you could, but practically, you would not.
yeah, 4 guns. That's just
Very much a
no.
why? Why would you do that?
If you've designed it so that they have the capability of doing so, then yes, which, as the question does state, if you were built them up that way, in that
Yeah,
way,
I know.
then,
We're
How
all.
much
then
heavier would
technically yes, but again, why
How
would
much-
you?
Well, hang on. How much heavier are the 15-inch turrets compared to the 11s?
Well, I assume they'd be in double mounts rather than triples.
Well, yes, but logically speaking, there should probably still be a increase in weight.
Yeah. Why do you want a ship with 4 15-inch guns?
Yeah. Scoot.
get it.
Yeah, Scoot. We are.
Fisher
aware
would like
that
a
the
word
barbets-
with you there, Chair.
Yeah, the barbets aren't the same. Yeah, we
Well-
know. Like the question includes a provision. For
Okay, why
them
do you
being
want
built
a
for
ship
it.
with 4 15-inch guns in the 1930s? Or 40s? No offense to our Lord and Saviour, Admiral Fisher.
Look, I wouldn't call him our Lord. And
Oh no,
Savior.
many offences to Admiral Fisher.
No.
Wow.
I too would like to have seen Furious with their 18-inch guns, but no, I just doesn't make sense. I'm
No.
sorry.
Okay, wow, that is a difference. So, the triple... so, this is going off the mounts off the Scharnhorst, which I know, technically speaking,
It's
isn't
in the same,
the
but
same as the Deutschlands, but they're the ones I can actually find quickly enough. Their turret weighs 750,000 kilograms versus 1,052,000 kilograms for the twin 15-inch. So you're adding another 250,000 kilograms per turret.
That doesn't
I
surprise
can
me.
imagine how
Like-
the Deutschland hull's going to take that weight increase.
I mean, it would have to basically be a different hull. Like I said, they would have to be built for it, and even if they are, why would you do it anyway?
Because, yeah, in fact, the Deutschlands are even lighter as well. The Deutschland, or at least for Lutzow in particular, weighed 590 tons, so...
Right. Okay.
So yeah, literally you're almost doubling the weight of these turrets.
Yes. So, next question. The spirits of ships would manifest during their construction. Do you think ships would have retirement yards where they pass gradually, or would ship breakers have a different connotation to it? That's
Well,
that's
ethics in my naval history podcast.
That's
Well, if they're spirits, it depends what type of spirits we're going off here. Now, are we going off
this is
Old English spirit?
My,
Or are we going off the
my,
idea of machine spirit?
my
Are we
brain,
going off the edition or the more modern version of spirits?
My brain.
If you're going off the Old English version, then if you scrap them, those spirits are coming after you for revenge. So you cannot let them ever die, or else they will come and hunt you down and kill your family.
My brain.
Because do
Oh,
not
hang on,
underestimate
wait, no, sorry,
Old
can you
English
say-
spirits.
Say the exact phrasing again.
What, that if you scrap them, they will hunt you down and kill you and your
No,
family?
no, of the question.
The question.
Sorry, of the question. The exact.
The spirit of ships would manifest during their construction. Do you think the ships would have retirement yards where they would pass gradually, or would ship breakers have a different connotation to it?
Well, I just think you're going to have a lot more, a lot happier sort of fabricators, shipbuilders and stuff. If they're getting all this free rum and they start, laying them down, cool. I mean, I suppose the breakers would be seen negatively if they're getting rid of all this free booze. But
We're
needs must.
basically talking.
If they're building more new ships, you're getting more rum.
Yeah, we're basically talking about the shipborne equivalent of a question that is asked, that of a real world possibility of Thomas and Friends. Like, if the trains are alive, how can scrappers' yards possibly be seen as anything other than genocide camps? Like, this is the thing. We're basically talking about a shipborne version of that.
As I said, I think it depends on what type of spirit it goes off. Because
if it's Navy rum, then
If it is all English-based spirit, you've got problems. Hello, Foxhome.
Right. So next. Oh boy. Here we go again. The year is 1935. Canada has just fully recovered from the Great Depression. The Royal Canadian Navy has suddenly come across a man who is willing to fund them. You're the head of the Royal Canadian Navy. It's now mid-1937. You have 5 dry docks capable of holding 45,000-ton ships and 3 slipways capable of supporting 40,000 tons. Build up the Royal Canadian Navy to become a first-rate navy by 1942. Oh boy, here we go. Right. Okay, first things first. Excuse me, Britain. Yeah, those KGVs. Give me the designs. I don't care. I'm not changing them. Give me the designs.
Oh no! Oh no!
An annoying question.
This is 30. We can modify this.
Nope.
We can get a better design.
No, if I have to build a first-rate navy by 1942, the first year's construction has to be the KGVs. Because we do not have time to change it. If we are building a first-rate navy,
We literally have the KGV class prelims that are all fully worked up designs. We can go with those instead.
I'm sorry, you're both correctly. Because in Canada, the KGVs are good for the Royal Navy because the Royal Navy's got fleet bases all across the planet, right?
Yep.
As we have 2 theatres. Both are at extreme.
That's true.
The KGV.
Building something to Panamax might actually be helpful.
Yes, we look at being Panamax, and we need to look at range. And realistically, we need to look at speed.
we don't have the time to do this with a first class of ships.
Yes, we do.
No, we are building a first-rate navy by 1942. That requires numbers.
We can do this.
That requires numbers. We have...
But, no... What? No, it doesn't.
Yes, we have 3 slips. Yeah, if we're building a first-rate navy, it has to be equivalent to the RN or the USN.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
The Italian, right, were the Italians equivalent in numbers to the UK or US?
Damn it, I forgot what first-rate means. I literally classified this Monday.
First-rate power.
Yeah. What I would actually... Go on, Foxy.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. So, what would you change them to? And if you say battle cruiser, I'm going to scream.
You don't go battle cruiser, but you probably try and get a few more knots top speed, and probably swap to 15-inch guns, in my opinion.
I would say it's battle cruiser.
No.
Yeah, so this one kind of.
No.
I would say
no.
Hear me out. The fleet is going to be pivoting to carriers by the 40s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we need as capital ships.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for our purposes, these aren't sort of the 20 style battleships that they're going to beat the shit out of each other. These aren't battle cruisers. These are fast capital ships.
Yes, in that case, then I would argue that in order to save on developing a new gun, given that we would have to wait a little bit for a 15-inch,
No, we don't. No, we don't. Vickers.
No, Vickers don't.
Vickers had designs worked up by this point for the Mark II and Mark III 15-inch gun.
I would.
They were literally ready to. We can put these in production tomorrow.
Look, if we want fast, I'd say we source them from the U.S. It's simpler. Everything is simpler. We source things from.
Doesn't
the US.
match you, but it does. Since we're not part of the, it means we'd have a different supply chain to the rest of the navies.
Yeah, we
You'll
are.
make more sense.
Yeah, but we're building a first-rate navy.
Yeah,
it didn't say we
but
have to operate with the RN.
But it's Canada. It does. That is how Canada's
Yeah,
navy
the
works.
Canadian Navy really
Period.
does need RN.
Well, yeah, it's how it works because we were working
Let's be
with the
real.
RN.
Someone better to get off the Americans, and that's armor belt. Because they're making the best armor belt on the planet. And we can't build it yet. We reserve the Americans for pink armor.
Let me see if it's 37. If it's 37, the treaties have just flat out collapsed.
Yeah, I think right. Put it this way.
I'm thinking 9. I'm thinking. Can
Okay, go on. I'll tell you wrong, but go on.
I'm thinking either 8 or 9 15-inch guns in 3 triples or 4 twins. I'm thinking 30 knots plus 31, 32, 40,000 tons, as big as our slips can go. Armor belt, at least armored to resist its own guns, ideally armored to resist 16-inch guns. That's what I want.
Right, because the slip limit's 40,000 tons, right?
Yeah.
45.
No, the dry docks are 45, the slips are 40.
Yeah.
Right, so if we're going off slips, 40,000 tons.
Is a KGV, effectively. At full load.
Yeah.
No, that's plus change. Like, yes, I'm aware a KGV at full load is that, but I assume they're talking about.
Honestly, I would honestly go for something like a modernized style K3.
I mean,
3 15-inch guns, 2 to 34 knot speed, 12-inch hammer belt, 4-inch deck.
that's a ship that's 20 years. I get it modernized, but still, it's the era.
It's barely at this point.
The
It's late
era,
20s.
Yes, the era of all forwards lasted a.
It's forward. It's not all forwards.
Yeah, but Foxo, I appreciate that, but wouldn't we be better using one of the KGV prelims and expanding it?
No.
Yes, because it would share compatibility with what Britain's currently building.
Yeah, but you're gonna have a lot of fun trying to get that 30
It
plus.
doesn't. But we're fighting a different theatre to what the Royal Navy's fighting in.
Not necessarily, though.
No, we're
So the
not.
Royal Navy.
It depends what the Royal Navy needs these for.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. You guys say we need to build Canada up to first rate navy with naval power, but
That's what
yet you keep thinking the Canadian Navy has to operate literally under the RN.
That's
because
the RN.
I'm not. What I'm saying is, if I'm thinking first-rate navy, thinking like the RN is no bad thing, because we will have access to British bases because we are a Commonwealth.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but you guys keep designing things and thinking that everything has to operate under the RN.
I'm not. I'm just as.
Yeah, but
Again, from what I can tell, from what I'm aware, the Royal Canadian Navy did operate under the the Royal Navy.
Like, because we're not a first-rate naval power.
Yeah, but even if you were a first rate, even if Canada was built
I
a
don't
first
think
rate,
so. No, there's going to be a lot more independency. If we are a first-rate naval power.
The UK will request Canadian ships at Scapa Flow, not demand it. They will ask.
No.
But in this case, we're looking at a Canada that's de facto independent.
Well, yes.
And as the first-rate Navy,
Well, no, we're not, because that's not what's mentioned at all. It's literally historical, but now Royal Canadian Navy now has basically infinite money and can dockyards are materialised.
You have to be a main power.
Yeah, Dragon. Canada is de facto independent anyway.
Yeah, and it's a case of we can't rely on Royal Navy fleet basing We can't rely on American fleet basing.
Why?
What happens if we're doing it goes against either power?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Why wouldn't we be able to get fleet basing with the Royal Navy? Why would the Royal Navy refuse fleet basing to their ally who...
Well, that depends on what we're trying to do.
But what's to say they stay our ally?
Why are we assuming Canada's going different paths than historical? That's literally not part of the question.
So to be a first-rate navy, you have to be able to act autonomously.
yes.
You have to be able to do what you want.
But that's not what the question says.
That's part of the definition of a first-rate navy.
No, it's not.
It is, Dragon, to be fair.
You could be it. It's not. Show me where it's stated it is.
If you're a first-rate naval power, you need to be able to operate on your own if needs be. I'm not saying we have to, but we should.
Why are we then still assuming, though, that that Canada in 1935 is going to now break away?
That's not what
Foxo
said. That's
what
not
Foxo
what
said was we have. Who knows if we'll stay allies with Britain or the United States?
No, she's
that
talking...
by definition.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
No, that's not what she's
saying. That's literally what you said, though.
No, what she's trying to say is, as a first-rate navy, we need to consider the possibility that we may be operating without the RN if the need arises. We may be operating alone. We may be operating without the Royal Navy backing us. It's a possibility. As a first-rate navy, we need to be able to consider that and go, we go anyway, regardless of whether or not we have been backed by the Royal Navy. She's not saying Canada's going to break away, or Canada doesn't need the RN, or the Canadians won't fight with the RN during the Second World War. What she's saying is, if we are building a first-rate naval power, we need the ability, but not the requirement, to operate independently overseas if that's required, including underway replenishment assets and the range for our ships to do that, if needed. It's not saying we will need to, it's saying that we should at least have the capability if we want to do that.
So to build on that, so what's purely Canadian fleet basing like? British ship.
Not going to be fun.
No. But we can do it.
There's going to be a lot of money needed investing on West Coast infrastructure.
Yeah. It might be worth considering a two-ocean navy, and by that and what I mean by that is I don't mean that in the US sense. I mean it's a navy of two oceans. So I'm thinking for the Pacific we should build probably a trio of large cruisers. And I don't mean Deutschland, Alaska. That I mean 15,000-ton 8-inch cruisers for the Pacific to serve as flag in that region. Powerful.
Not happening.
Yeah.
Why not?
Because battleships are already a bit out of the house, but we're trying to figure that out. No, what Canada will probably want is light cruisers as those flagships. You're probably getting a town derivative. They have flag facilities. They can fully manage everything.
And
why are we going for 8-inch guns here?
Because that's what we have. That's what's generally available.
You have 6-inch available as well, and the 6-inch has been proven multiple times to be as effective as the 8-inch.
Yes.
But at this point it hasn't, Dragon.
But Foxer, these questions have always been done with the view of hindsight in, so we know this.
Right, the issue is that look at the threats on the East Coast.
West Coast, you mean?
What is the threat?
Japan.
The threat is the Japanese showing up with a carrier or their battle cruisers. So we need a capital ship on the West Coast. Let's be real. Because a heavy cruiser is not going to stop a Congo. A light cruiser is not going to stop a Congo.
Could we build a...
Yeah, we're not saying don't have battleships, Foxo. Just I think light cruisers would be more useful to us than heavy cruisers overall.
No, I was going for those being the heaviest units on the coast.
No. You can't just have a heavy cruiser on the west coast and expect it to be perfectly fine. Because then
That's what these battleship/battle cruisers would have to be doing.
exactly. You're gonna have to have a battleship on the east and a battleship on the west. That's why it's going to be a massive infrastructure expansion on the west coast to accommodate for one of the battleships that we are going to build.
Yeah, which is why I put forward we build a much more battle cruiser orientated capital ship.
Yeah, we could absolutely build a faster and something that is not necessarily as well protected as most other battleships are.
I would tend to agree.
Yeah, speed is the focus.
Yeah, speed and range.
Yeah, most importantly, it's to operate alongside with a carrier.
Yeah, to be more accurate to what Foxo's saying, we don't need range. We need the potential for range.
No, you need the range.
We are probably getting range.
We need sort of renowned level high speed range. Just because to keep up with the carriers, and it needs to be hold for 8 days straight at flank.
That is a lot of range.
If Renown could do it.
Yeah, it's a good
If a ship will do it, we could do it. The Iowas could do it. Just.
Yeah, I know. So the thing to me is I think we need to prioritize protection, air defense over raw firepower. So I'd be happy to accept 8 guns in 3 twins, or heck, even 6.
This is going to sound like
Wait a moment. Fleet. I'd be willing to accept 8 guns and 3 twins.
Yeah,
No.
I propose 3 by 3 14-inch guns.
That is an excellent idea, Foxo.
No.
I'll probably design something around the twin turrets of the
Honestly, she's actually got a point. Think about it. With 3 by 3 14s, the 14-inch gun is still going to slap anything we're likely to face. Silly. It really doesn't. Like, we don't need anything bigger. We know this. The extra displacement.
The time coming of the turret, then yeah, sure.
The excellent.
But the turret exists. No, the turret actually exists. Because I've made them.
Yeah, we're not using KGV.
Oh no, Vickers has designed them. They haven't made them.
Yeah, and this
Not
is
for the triples.
and this is the thing. With the extra saved weight, with 40,000 tons to play with, we can get a 31 knot ship with decent range and very good protection.
Me.
I would still think it's better to go for the 15-inch guns because even
Why?
the Royal Navy
Why?
because the Royal Navy didn't want the 14-inch gun.
We don't.
They wanted the
Yes.
new 15s from
That
Vickers.
was without the benefit of
And
hindsight.
if we're Canada, we can potentially get this.
Yeah, but why would we?
Yeah,
we
but-
don't need the extra firepower. We don't need it. 14 is fine.
And fundamentally, we're not the Royal Navy.
Yeah, we don't need the 15-inch gun. We have.
Yeah, sure. The
we
Royal
have-
Navy were 15s, but
Yeah.
Overall, the 15-inch gun has a lifespan to it.
Yes, but we're not looking at lifespan. We're looking at building,
Availability.
and we're looking at building these ships for a war we all know is coming. And honestly, I don't
Yeah,
even.
Right, realistically, for these ships, their main role is force projection. It's just force projection. It's having a capital ship there.
Yeah.
I do think you're underestimating at this point that if Canada has these ships, the Royal Navy will be having words and will be saying, no, we need you to do X, Y, Z with them, and not giving a choice.
Yeah,
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 but
but
they
it's
can show it.
specified that Canada's a first-rate navy, and a first-rate navy will tell the Royal Navy to go fuck itself. They're doing what's best for their fleet.
No, it wouldn't.
Well, no.
That's the problem. We're not having this fundamental issue of why can't we build our Navy to what we need it to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are we?
That's what the Royal Navy asked the French to align with them and help them simplify logistics. The French fucking didn't. The Americans didn't.
Canada is an independent state.
The
Yes,
Australians didn't.
yeah, Canada's a dominion. Which, yes, it's a dominion, but it is to all intents and purposes an independent state. London can bitch and moan all it wants, but at the end of the day, Canada's an independent state.
You say that, but whenever Westminster does do this, and if the Canada says no, Westminster normally does something to affect Canada back, which doesn't do well for Canada. They are still under the tiger's paw, effectively, where, no, if we do need to listen, we can't just tell them, basically, F off. That's not something we can actually do.
Yeah, but the difference is, what are they going to do? Diplomatically strangle Canada to make them, prior to the Second World War, when they need all the dominions on side? Instead, I think they'll ask nicely, and Canada will probably say, yes, we can actually help you with this, Britain. Especially...
Remember, Canada isn't Australia. The UK starts playing too hardball. They just look past the border and go, hey, America, would you back us declaring our independence?
Yeah, this is the thing. The UK can't play incredible hardball with Canada. It's not pre-World War One. It's not the 19th century. Canada has multiple options to fuck back, basically. I get what you're saying, Dragon, but it's a very delicate balancing act the UK is playing.
It's something we don't want to do, but if you force us to, then we will have to play that card.
Yeah, this is the thing. The UK has everything to gain from this larger Canadian navy by being nice and asking, and the Canadians have very little to lose on the international stage by saying yes. Working with the UK in this scenario is probably what's going to happen, but it will be a far more even playing field with a separate Canadian command working with the RN, not under it.
I would then question what separate Canadian command at this point. Like, you do know what the state of the Canadian Navy is in 35 through 37, right?
Yes, I'm aware.
It's bad. There isn't actually really any command there. So honestly, that's probably going to be the first thing you have to try and figure out. How the hell are we getting the crew for any of these ships?
Well, here's the thing.
Yes.
If I have till 42, I can be doing aggressive training programs. I can be working things up.
That's fundamentally not the issue for Canada.
Keep in mind,
Canada has massive issues of a large coastal population that don't have any fucking jobs, and a whole shit ton of, seamen and young men who have lost their jobs because the American Wall Street did a funny, or can't get jobs because Wall Street did a funny.
And even with the economy recovering, they're still going to be looking for work.
Yeah, and you offer a young man with no job, good pay, and a chance to join the Navy, he will join the Navy. It just means you might get a few less Navy ground crews.
I still don't unfortunately see us getting that many crew as well as the problem.
Why? There are plenty of crewmen
available. Because it's not that simple.
Canada has always had this issue. That's the reason why we never even ever considered trying to crew a battleship.
Keep in mind, even when Canada wanted battleships, they tried a massive recruitment drive for doing exactly what Fox has just said. And most people just went, nah.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, but that was 1910 Canada, pre-Great Depression Canada. But Canada had a fucking economy.
Keep in mind when Canada was actually trying in historical to get more people into the Navy.
In the 1940s, Canada lost its manpower without using conscription for the Navy.
So you're also seeming to forget, though, that Canada did try to get more manpower through between 35 and 39 for the Navy. They managed to achieve a grand total of less than 2,000 men.
Yeah, because they were offering piss poor wages and shit conditions.
conditions probably aren't going to change that much, really.
And fundamentally, there wasn't that much of a population growth.
And there isn't the drive to it. Even if you offer someone good wages, if it's not something they want to do, it's not uncommon for them just to say no.
Yeah, but in the after the Great Depression, as the US Navy used to its great advantage, if they between
But Canada's not the US.
people, because Canada's in the same position as the Great Depression. The economy is recovering, but it's still at a 30% unemployment. You offer people food and stable income, and they join the army and they join the navy. Because that's how Canada built its army and built the divisions that would go to Europe and North Africa.
I get what you're
We're dealing
saying.
with your question, Wesley. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like this is
If anything, it's what I would say you probably would actually want Clark to have a word in as well.
Yeah, like I feel
Because
I feel
he's
like
probably
this
one of the
is-
few people who actually has all the full detail he may have for
Yeah.
it.
Fundamentally speaking,
'Cause honestly, even in this situation,
maybe.
I don't see Canada actually building battleships.
Generally speaking, I don't think so either.
No, but like I said, the question
Even
was
with,
X.
if anything,
Yeah, I know.
if anything, these slips and dockyards exist. I see the Royal Navy requisitioning them
That's not how it.
and going,
The Royal Navy can't just requisition
Fleet,
Canadian property.
Fleet, let me finish.
Not
Let me finish for a sec. It's the same way the Royal Navy requisition dockyards from the US. They will pay them to, this is what needs to be done. We have paid you. We are requisitioning the dockyard for this period of time and using your workers. That's what they will do with these slips, more than likely, if needed.
Yeah, but that's not requisitioning. That's just.
It is technically a form of requisition.
It's technically
That's not requisitioning, that's commissioning.
commissioning is technically a form of requisition.
No, commissioning's a bit different as well.
And requisitioning is when you buy stuff for a fixed price or you order someone to do stuff for a fixed price. Commissioning is when you go outside and you negotiate the contract.
But as I said, I would, if anything, leave this question for until Clarksy, because I don't see this necessarily going anywhere.
It's halfway through the Victorian era, and someone in the British Empire somehow invents a flying ironclad. How much more does the Empire expand? It doesn't. To be blunt, it doesn't expand much more. All you've done is move warfare to the skies.
Basically.
And I've literally there's a whole board game. There's a whole naval warfare game set around this called, I think it's called Imperial Skies. Which is the age of Imperial Skies. Here we go. And it's the age of the ironclad and the pre-dreadnought taken to the skies. It doesn't dramatically change the balance of power in Europe, because if it's a known technology, it'll only remain a British invention for a couple of years. Then you'll suddenly see the Germans will have a flying ironclad, and the French, and the Russians, and the Japanese, and then it will just be. Am I breaking up? Hello?
Discord's having issues. Your stream is fine.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So his Discord is having issues. That's okay. That's interesting. All right. Oh, Discord is having a moment.
Discord's fine now.
But yes, so like I said, you're basically looking at the competition between the great powers going to the skies. It will dramatically affect ground warfare at first, and it'll make exploring the Dark Continent very easy. So Africa will be explored incredibly quickly. Because this
part of the Victorian era, I guess.
This will basically. You'll also probably see a proliferation of the dual and the triple turret much faster. because the more shells you fire per salvo, especially as ranges will increase across the Ironclad era, the more likely you are to actually hit a target in 3 dimensions. Obviously, shells will likely have tracers on them, so you can actually track the shell as it flies across the sky. But yeah, you've not dramatically changed.
Geopolitically speaking, there not much changes. Mostly
Yeah.
because, there isn't a lot of free territory to grab up anymore.
Yeah.
It is mostly the scramble for Africa would be more kinetic and explosive, probably.
Yeah, and the Franco-Prussian War is going to be interesting.
I mean, of course, assuming either the French or the Prussians figure out.
Although this tech will massively proliferate incredibly quickly because it's the Victorian era.
All right, then.
Yeah, but for the question, I just got to point out, the Victorian British Empire is the very definition of overextended.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah, the Victorian British Empire will look on this as a godsend to hold their empire together and hold what they currently control. Not to expand it.
There's probably going to be a lot of fundings to the Royal Marines and figuring out how to
or more accurately, can we adapt this technology to person size so we can have boarding actions?
No, I'm sorry. I'm now just imagining the Royal Marines doing a fucking US Airborne.
In all seriousness, look up Imperial Skies. It's an interesting little war game with a variety of different nations involved. For some reason, the biscuit tin turret never dies in certain nations. Even though the Dreadnought-style battleship appears, the biscuit tin turret never dies.
It's also very interesting. It also does mean that a bunch of canals is not as.
Oh no, the canals will still be built for shipping.
Well, yeah, they would, but
Yeah.
If we start moving towards flying cargo ships.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, but heavier than air aviation, apart from pleasure and perhaps some small fighter craft, is dead on arrival. Well, not dead on arrival, but the need for it to go.
From what we know.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't be. It would just take a lot longer to get to where we are today. Because why would you build a strategic bomber? If you want to blow up a city, you sail a squadron of battleships over there and shell it.
Yeah, but then you also have to think about what if we start building a whole bunch of these heavier than air aircraft and strap a whole bunch of really big bombs to them.
Yeah, and also, and that means
they would be very good at. They would be very good at targeting.
And that means, and that means that we can get past the defensive guns of the city that are designed to shoot at aerial battleships. They'll have no chance of hitting these bombers. But also, yeah, there are actual aircraft carriers in the setting as well, by the way. So the heavier than air aircraft does actually exist in parallel to the aerial battleship.
Sorry, you know those times people put recoilless rifles on aircraft?
Oh yeah, I can see that. I can absolutely see that coming in.
Just your Spitfire, you can just strap 2 6-inch recoilless rifles.
Yeah.
And you've got a sky to hunt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And now imagine a squadron of them firing on a single ship.
Yeah, that's and like the recoilless gun will probably be called the aerial torpedo because it's the closest thing to it that will actually work. As in,
because I get a feeling this is how you get an Ace Combat universe.
Ooh, thank you, C-Dotters. That's lovely.
More accurately, it's probably more a Project Wingman universe.
Yeah, so as soon as you can mount big anti-ship weapons
on small
aircraft, you suddenly have a situation where an A-4 heavy bomb can take down 4 airships. You then very quickly lose the justification for these heavier than air ironclads existing, or these airships existing.
I mean, you don't
Because
because
if
I mean you
one
don't.
vehicle, same payload, and take them out easily, what's the point of them?
I mean, Foxo, I would point out that was the same argument made with the torpedo on the ocean against the battleship, and the bomb against the Navy in general. And it didn't hold true then, and it doesn't hold true in this particular case, because again, what an aerial warship is will adapt and change as technology does.
Yeah, so at most, you get an ace combat or Project Wingman style airship.
No, you don't see that.
Well,
At
you
least
would
not at first.
have to.
Why?
Yeah, to survive, let's be real.
I mean,
Because you could put a bit on something like a fucking mosquito, then you can protect an airship from a big bomb.
Well,
like, I wouldn't want to be in an airship that's just got hit by an 8,000-pound bomb.
well, yes, that's true, but I wouldn't want to be in a warship that's got hit by a torpedo either. This is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I get what you're saying, and I agree with it, but I think you'll see adaptation, and I don't think it will be towards heavier than air airships. It'll be towards... You'll see the move that we saw historically. You'll see a move to smaller, faster, better armed aerial vessels. They won't be Project Wingman or Ace or...
Wingman style airships.
No,
because those airships would be able to fly because someone did the maths and they're 4 times heavier than they should be.
Yes, I know, because they didn't think about it properly.
They have Seawiz and SAMs to protect themselves from strike aircraft that are trying to shoot them down. They have fucking rails and large caliber artillery for engaging ground targets. And they have BLS.
Yeah, you're probably right there, but I think there would be a transition period first.
Yeah, but it's just my original point was this is how you get an Ace Combat universe.
Yeah, probably right. Very quickly, I'm just going to address something Knight said on YouTube, which is he's asked me to explain why a non-declined British Empire being unrecognisable is a good thing. I mean, I said this when we were talking about the non-declined British Empire. I think it was either on Monday or last Friday, but I'll say if the British Empire is not unrecognisable, basically if it's a non-declined British Empire, it is one of two things. It's a Commonwealth, which we already discussed, and that's a good ending, which is unrecognisable compared to the Empire as it was prior to the Second World War, and heck, even the First World War. Or it doesn't exist, therefore it's unrecognisable. If it's a recognisable British Empire that isn't declined, it is a horrific thing, held together by steel and blood and oppression. If it is a recognisable British Empire that isn't declined, it is held together by the oppression of everyone who wishes to be free. It is held together by brutal occupations that are probably killing millions across the Empire to hold the thing together. It is creaking under its own weight as it struggles to pay for itself. And if...
What you have to get into your head about the British Empire was that even by the late Victorian era, it has become abundantly clear it is an empire born out of the 16th and 17th century. Its institutions are that of the 17th and 18th century. Going in, and as historically, those institutions either have to adapt and decolonize and change their power structure, or they die, like with what happened with the French colonial empire. Because the empire, as you know it, in World War I and World War II, is transitioning out of being a mercantile empire of the 17th century.
The bad end you Knight
Well,
says the bad end you describe sounds like other colonial empires and the British. No, the British colonial empire is not a special snowflake where everything is fine and dandy because it's the British Empire. It's exactly the same as every other colonial imperial state. It's a horrific monstrosity that butchered and killed its way across a quarter of the globe. It was a horrific system that killed millions over the course of its existence. And for it to survive in that state, it would go on to kill millions more to the present day if it survived.
Yeah,
The British Empire is... I'm sorry, let's finish. The British Empire is not special. It was not a lovely white man's burden civilizing the Africans. It was not, oh, the British were slightly less racist than everyone else. No. We did horrific things to Africa, to Asia, to the rest of the world. Just as bad as the French, the Dutch, the Belgians.
That suggests
The
you
German.
basically look at British occupation of India.
Yeah,
Wellesley, yes, millions.
yeah. And the British Empire, a good reason it survived was because how dispersed it was, how limited the transformation of information was, that they could effectively keep populations isolated, and this ability to utilize autonomy. As in essentially, like other large portions of Africa, which was, you follow our laws, you don't go up in our rebellion, and we will leave you alone if you pay your taxes and you give us what we want.
Like, I cannot
But
stress this enough. Like, this is why I say, this is why I circle back to your original question. That's why a non-declined British Empire being unrecognisable is a good thing. Because if it's recognisable as the British Empire, it is a horrific institution that needs to die.
it's that the British Empire we think of when people say the British Empire is an empire in transition. It is an empire that is in the middle of massive institutional and organisational change. So there is two outcomes. Well, three. Those reforms and changes fail, and it regresses back to how it was
Which
in
is
the 18th and the 17th and 18th century, in which case, well done, you just need the Soviet Union but British.
Yeah, basically.
Or it ends up as a federalised Commonwealth if everything goes to plan.
and at that point, it's not recognisable as the British Empire. Because it's
Yeah,
not.
because the British Empire has ceased to be. The hierarchical structure that made the British Empire is gone. But these places are always going to be faulty because what people think of as the British Empire is the transitional period between Victorian and modern.
It's important to bear in mind that the Commonwealth we have today is actually a much looser but much freer institution than it was meant to be originally. Which I argue is actually for the best, for the majority of the people involved.
Tell that to Rhodesia and South Africa.
Yeah, we don't talk about those two.
Problem children.
Yeah, just a bit.
Alright.
But anyway,
Moving on.
moving swiftly on back to the actual pre-asked questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, honestly, Foxo and Moe, this one's for you two for a second while I just need to go and do something real quick because someone's banging on my door. It's 1936. Stonehenge is replaced by Ace Combat Stonehenge. What does Britain do next?
I'm sorry, this is my question. We're waiting until Fleet gets back to answer it. So
Okay.
I don't think to wait for it. I don't think to wait for it for Clark. So
Right. Stonehenge in 1936 was Stonehenge from Ace Combat. What does Britain do? Was that the question?
yes.
Right. Well, we're probably going to see a much less focus on air defense and for the RAF, and have even more emphasis on power projection and destruction. So basically, Bomber Command gets a whole bunch more money, while Fighter Command is just like, yeah, we still need you to technically exist, just in case if Stonehenge just sort of not work.
What do you think the opposite though? Because Stonehenge with a massive raildom, you could just use that as a replace with the Bomber Command and use Fighter Command to protect it.
Well, yeah, Fighter Command will basically be tasked with protecting Stonehenge. But fundamentally speaking, there is no reason why Stonehenge would not just stop everything. There's physically Britain basically becomes a no-flying zone.
Never mind Britain, the entire continent of Europe does.
And it's just basically RAF becomes the dominant flying power of the continent, and it will just freely bomb wherever the hell it wants.
Oh no, the Stonehenge isn't equipped to hit targets on the ground. Seriously, you can't arc the shells from it. These are rounds with enough force to reach into near orbit. The calculations haven't been done for arcing them across the planet.
I mean, another big question would be, how is the Stonehenge getting powered? You're not.
Well, during Ace Combat 7, they had to use a metric shit ton of generator trucks.
Yeah, I know, but
Truck.
It's 1936.
The truck.
What kind of generation or what kind of generator
Wait, hang on,
trucks are you
hang on.
gonna
I just got here. Why?
They will
How
literally-
is 1936 involved?
They will, by the way, they will just build a power plant. Honestly, seriously, they will build a coal-fired power station.
They
Exclusively.
will need to build more than one.
That's fine.
But yes.
They will build as many coal-fired power stations.
They will devour the entirety of Welsh coal industry.
Oh no!
Just to
no,
power
no,
that thing,
no, no,
alright.
no! You don't use Welsh coal in power stations. That's far too high quality stuff. You
Use Yorkshire coal.
I just got here.
Yeah,
What's going on?
You use Yorkshire
So
coal.
basically, the question is, what happens if Stonehenge from Ace Combat get transported to Stonehenge in 1936 Britain?
At that point, you just use the power plant.
I mean, that's basically what we're saying. You're gonna need the power plant. You're gonna need the mother of all power plant in 1936. But yeah,
Yes, this is Stonehenge before Mobius did his thing.
yes, it's gonna be
I'm assuming.
mostly. Thank you.
Yes, it's pre. It's pre the funny man showing up with
How
the
many
funny.
Lancaster would you
with-
need to take together for a flying Stonehenge gun?
No, you can't do it. You can't do it. It's not possible.
I would say about
It's possible.
It's not possible.
just-
40.
No, it's a
ish.
numerical issue. It's possible.
It's entirely possible. It's entirely
Anything
doable. It's
can
just not
fly
easy.
as long
It's
as you apply the numbers to it.
okay. It's like that It's like that one The Simpsons movie where they put that dome over the entirety of Springfield. It's doable. It's just going to take a lot of aircraft in order to
No,
pull it off.
Wellesley, it's not going to be a tap into the power supply. It's going to be we hog the entire power supply.
Like I said,
They're
we don't.
just
No,
going to hug it all.
we don't need to, and we really shouldn't. Like, we have 3 years before the war starts. We can actually build up enough power infrastructure to keep the thing running,
Yes,
separate
we
from the
can.
grid, and we should.
Absolutely.
And we should.
Not remind me of Chandelier. That absolutely sucks. That
The
was
funny thing,
that was-
it shoots the ray at the missile.
Oh, no. That's you're thinking of Megalith. This is Chandelier. No, I'm being serious. You are definitely thinking of Megalith. Chandelier was something else completely. That was pretty much if I'm not mistaken, basically the biggest rail gun in the entirety of Strange Rail.
Yes, it is the funny with the ray. Right.
What's Ray? Where are you getting
The
Ray
Ray!
from?
The Ray!
What? Ray? There's
You know,
it's
doing
Ace Combat
you know,
6.
doing Dry January has unlocked my insanity again, and I feel like I really need to get
Yeah.
drunk.
Where are you getting
Wait,
Ray
wait,
from?
wait. Please don't have Ray behind them. They're Project Wingman, aren't they? Where your railguns can't rail.
Okay, I can barely,
The
I can
Ray.
barely make you out, dude. There's no goddamn rays on the chandelier. Again, you are thinking of Megalith.
No, I am thinking of the Excalibur, the funny thing.
He's thinking Excalibur.
That's Ace Combat 0. That's not Ace Combat 6.
I am being funny. Anyway, moving
Don't
swiftly
worry about it.
onwards.
It's been so funny, I forgot to laugh.
Exactly, it's great. Poseidon sums up me in a
Moving
nutshell. I am calm.
Slayer's got it right. It wasn't
Moving on.
Who's in
It's
VC?
fine.
Montana in VC. We have myself, Dragon, Moe, Foxo, and Meta. Right. So, come on, Fleet, engage brain. Next question.
I'll engage the brain
the-
for you. You
the
made an
eminent-
anachronistic
the
assumption.
eminent.
And you... Jesus Christ. Okay, look. What I'm trying to say is that when you were talking about the rays, you were thinking of Excalibur, which is from Ace Combat 0. What I was trying to say was that Chandelier had no rays, it's in Ace Combat 6.
Oh no, I know. I know you were. I just
Okay, quick question.
You
Quick
were just
question.
trying to interrupt me because you think you were funny.
no.
Quick question. Which Ace Combat game is Clean Sheets Man from?
What?
It's what?
Jeez.
What?
Just
What?
But the character goes on a rant about some disturbing interesting white sheep.
What?
I barely understand what you're saying.
I'm
That's-
having difficulty hearing what you're saying.
I don't know
Something
where
about-
we are here, folks. We're just with some.
Raxty Flipnote has better quality than Foxo does right now. Foxo could light a smoke signal outside the house and get better voice quality.
Fucking hell. Jesus.
Yellicon, that's it, Yellicon.
Oh yeah, 1 million lives. The funny man. Ah yes, the.
That's Ace Combat 7. That's Ace Combat 7, more specifically it's
Not
DLC.
7. Is that 7?
Are you coming from your phone? You're coming
Yeah,
from the
she is.
center
Yeah,
of town or
she is.
something.
Right.
Oh, I am so sorry for you.
Right. Left.
Moving on, next question.
The eminent domain
Just
from
give us the
Project
next
Wingman
question.
is sent back in
Oh,
time
God.
to 1986 Canada in Toronto. How does the world react to accordion-fueled battleship armed with VLS and large caliber railguns? Confusion.
They want it.
Confusion,
I
basically.
mean, kind of confusion, but to be fair,
Confusion followed by
the
exploitation.
technology
They
on
want
the
it.
domain isn't like anything that the US isn't coming up with at the time.
That's not going to
VLS
stop
is
them from
coming up anyway,
exploiting
so
it, though.
it's
Also,
like,
does she have
Most definitely
railguns?
not going to
Because,
stop
like,
them
those
from
don't look like
exploiting
railguns to me. Those look like conventional guns in multiple
I
turrets.
recall they're conventional.
You surely
cannons,
do.
No, they are
Really, really
railguns.
do.
Why does she have multiple
Or,
barrels?
yeah, it's railguns because
Why does she
Right.
have multiple
She's got
barrels?
both railguns and conventional guns and VLS.
Why? Who came up with this thing?
She has 5 triple
5 triple. Am
Yeah,
I?
turrets.
I kind of questions involve Project Wingman. You have to go forward knowing that it's Project Wingman, knowing
No, I
that
get
it's not going
that.
to make any sense at all.
No, like I get that, but I do just question why? Why do battleships exist?
because
the
it's
moment you
boring.
Why not?
Do not ask why in Project Wingman it just occurs.
I'm a dumb fuck. I'm way dumber than you, and even I can come to that conclusion.
Look, I.
Fleet's undergoing so
I'm
much
sorry, they're
confusion. His
quadruple
connection
ra-
is running its
Sorry, I
course.
didn't realise they're actually quadruple railgun turrets. So she's actually 5x4.
Yeah,
So there's 20 in all. So
That's
Yes.
just about enough. Just about enough, Daka.
I'm losing my marbles.
Because doesn't she
We're
fight
losing your
her
connection.
sister ship in one mission?
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
Not 5 by
the
5. I'm pretty
Janus.
sure there was an
She fights
airship
the
big enough for
Janus.
them to be able to pull that off. Probably the 205s or something like that.
Are you trying to figure out the caliber of the railguns here?
No, I
They are.
Because they're never mentioned.
That part doesn't really matter.
All you have to know is that Janus, a sister ship, has massive fuck-off danger areas for the railgun, which means they're probably very large caliber, larger than any. Else
Wow.
in the game. I'm talking has a danger area the size of a small airship.
Unfortunately, the eminent domain was sunk at the end of the game.
Was she?
Is it? I thought it survived.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, it couldn't.
No,
have done it.
she's destroyed at the literal very end when Crimson One decides,
Oh,
you know
yeah,
what?
yeah,
The hell with your peace
blows
treaty.
it all up.
Orange.
No, this is second Orange Moe.
Yeah, I know.
Can we?
He already did Orange 1.
Yeah, okay.
What about Orange War Crimes 2?
I played a free patch. My eyes were orange at the time.
So apparently Poseidon
Okay.
did Ace Combat 7 with just a MiG-21. So did most of us.
Yeah.
Because I'm
I
assuming
did
most-
what? Eh? I
I
had most
did
of
it
Ace
with
Combat
CFO.
with Tomcats.
Yeah,
Really?
most
So-
of my
Tomcats.
Ace Combat was the Starfighter.
Then I went through and using the glorious ADFX-01 Morgan.
I did the Phantom. I hated myself for it, but I did it.
Right.
Anyway, can we get
Move
back
on.
to the
I
Moving
understand
on.
doing
Moving
it at
on.
Moving on,
MiG-21,
Moving on.
but why the
Moving on.
Phantom?
The Yarrow.
You have to actively
the Yarrow.
hate yourself by that point.
The Yarrow World Conquest. After their invention, every ship then have to use Yarrow small tube boilers. Engines never go beyond them. Countries rename them, but they are still Yarrow boilers. How does this affect the world and ship design after that? Oh, I know what this is in relation to. Anybody remember the whole
Because I
Drake's
just-
drum thing?
You want more Yarrow boilers?
Yes.
It's I mean, I don't know enough about Yarrow boilers to really make a judgment.
Okay,
Speaks
do we
for
want to leave
most
this
of
one
us.
for Clark?
Yeah,
Leave
this
one for Clark. instead.
yeah, this one would be one that Clark would have to come in and have a crack at, but he's not here sadly, so we'll have to carry on.
We're talking about Ace Combat, so why should he
So
give a crap?
technically, what, Yarrow becomes a monopoly?
That's not. You'd be surprised. Not Dr. Clark is actually very. He's usually around all the time. How accurate is it that Kansen are not the ideal versions because in Universe the Sirens don't know what the ideal versions would actually be because there's no timeline to pull data since IRL? We've no idea what the ships would look like with their naval treaties beyond what we know was being built just before it.
Kansen are not the ideal versions because the ideal versions weren't built.
Did you?
Kansen
Shinden
are the
2, I love that
ships
plane.
that we know.
I actually love that plane. It came equipped with like a metric
Shinden 2 was
ton
decent.
of special missiles.
What the
Oh
f-
god. We keep getting sidetracked.
Stop backtracking.
Not backtracking. He literally posted that like
Yes.
a minute ago.
Like, it's
This is not
it is what is
backtracking.
occurring in the
Stop
chat, to be
Yes.
fair.
Stop looking at
Yeah.
chat. Stop looking at chat.
No, yeah, but Moe, we're active. But me
You
and Foxy
have
are
to
normally
look at
actively
chat.
told to
That's
look
where
at
the
chat
most of
and
the engagement's
respond to the
coming
things
from.
in chat.
Yes, but
But don't derail
There's
the
no
question.
buts.
yeah, try
There is
to.
no but in this particular equation.
There is. It's my
Think
show.
Shinden 2 is a fun plane. Everyone's show.
No, it's not. It's mine. It is not everyone's.
Anyway, continue with the AO.
Viva la revolution.
Do not stage a coup. I need you to not stage a coup.
Okay, as much as I would like to, we can't stage a coup. As far
Actually,
as
we
know,
can. Actually, Meta, we actually can.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you guys are like, I don't know.
I'm not
You guys like
going
it's-
to, because that would be incredibly rude.
Indeed.
Yeah, you guys.
A coup could be
You
launched.
guys like it's
Anyway,
like
shall
it's
we get back to
memes
the
or
question
whatever.
on the Kansen?
Yeah,
perhaps?
moving on.
All I'm going to say is a coup normally leads to Flea answering Bible questions until he takes control back.
Oh shit! Then yeah, don't coup. No, we're not doing that.
The fact that did actually happen at one point.
Wait, did we answer
Yes!
the Kenton question or
They
do we
drove
still
me
have to,
in
They
the
would be the
They-
next after the Kansen. The reason they're not the ideal versions is because that's not how Kansen work. As I said, so grab the next one, Fleet.
moving on.
Next question is, why is it that during the interwar treaties, Australia put its lot in with the UK instead of insisting on having an independent navy in the treaty system? Was there consideration of potential benefits to an independent navy, such as cooperation with the US and the Netherlands, or not being dependent on a government a literal world away?
Go
It's
for it.
okay.
They weren't allowed to.
Okay. Well, first things
Yeah.
first. Australia has an independent navy. It's not they don't have an independent navy. It's that navy's tonnage is included in the Royal Navy's overall tonnage.
I think it's for the very future.
Australia had and maintained an independent naval force during the interwar period. Its tonnage allowances, however, were included in the overall tonnage assigned to the British Empire. Just like the Canadian Navy, the New Zealand Navy, whatever, and the token navies maintained by South Africa and India.
In Malaysia.
Well, Malaysia was barely even token. I think calling it token would be a miracle. But yes, so yeah, it's as like that's basically the long and short of it.
Yeah,
It's not that they didn't have an independent navy. It's that they just lumped the tonnage that navy required into the British tonnage.
It's why Australia was scrapped.
Yeah.
Was there a theory on all the Commonwealth being treated as its own thing?
There was the option, but then
Britain wanted Canada and Australia to at least have independent tonnages, but the US basically said hard no because you'll just sell off all your old battleships to them.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but it's also a point that one of the reasons the Australians actually tried to keep a part of the British Empire at the time is because the Royal Navy and the British were subsidising a large portion of the Australian Navy.
Makes sense.
It's like, I think it's stuff like Perth is pretty much paid for by the British. And it's a case of the Australians go at it alone, they suddenly have to pay for shit themselves. Oh, like the New Zealanders, actually.
So
Next.
Yep, so the next question is thoughts on the Raytheon upgrade, the M60 Slip, which is an interesting name for a tank, but hey ho.
What?
Do you think the Turks stole the upgrade and called it their own upgrade package? I have no idea what Turkey did to their M60s. Let me just have a look.
They slapped on the what's it called M1A1 turret onto it, didn't they?
That's one of the version, but I don't think that's the version they were talking about.
Let's have a look.
I thought I would assume that's the one they're talking about, but not sure.
Oh,
I
it's
thought
the
they
oh,
blew
it's
up
the
the-
no, what? No, it's the M60T. It's basically the Magag, but with a 120mm gun. It's very similar to what the Israelis did to their M60s in the final years they were using them, but the Turks have gone a step further and fitted a 120mm
Yeah.
gun, I believe.
But I'm sorry, it was developed alongside the Turks because the Turks were the customer and made it in collaboration with the Turks. And as for the tank itself, let the M60 fucking die
No.
Did I?
By Abrams. Why are you still using the M60? You're not Vietnam.
Because the Turks want to maintain a large tank fleet.
Wait, I don't
cheaply
remember
at
this.
least.
Oh, because it was a DLC.
You know,
Okay.
only if they had, you know, Fleet, it's only they had this thing called their domestic tank program, and they're buying off the Germans program, and they're buying off the Poles program, and they're buying off, well,
Yes.
they're buying off the Russian program.
Yes, but they also wanted to retain a second line unit that they could use cheaply and also fall back on into the reserves with the capability to bring it back into their fleet if needs be to bulk up tank forces in the event of losses or a major conflict or needing to stand up new regiments, etc. Which
They're basically upgrading their deep storage.
But why use the M60?
Because that's
Because
what they
it-
have.
Of
because-
all the patches,
because it's because
they have M48.
why would you use M48s? They're older.
Yeah, they're just as vulnerable as the M60s nowadays, because everything will pop an M60.
Yes, but
They're mechanically simpler. They have lower fuel consumption,
no, the
and they're cheaper to maintain. Even bullet hurt.
no, this doesn't. That argument
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
really
The entire-
hold.
Yeah, the entire point is that they're just trying to keep or maintain the M60 to a combat capable standard of
Yeah.
modern times.
Ah,
That's
yes,
all.
the dollars. The ultimate in modern warfare.
I agree with that.
Like, look, we're not saying that they're world-beating tanks. Like, we're not
They're
saying
not
it's a
supposed to be.
like. We're not saying it's a world-beating tank, but it's decidedly better than a modernized T-62 or a modernized T-55.
No, it's just the
And-
same idea
and-
as the South Africans.
Yeah,
keeping
and
those
it's
games in charity
yeah,
to
and
that,
it's
right?
and it's about a match for a T-72. It can kill a T-72. It can be killed by a T-72, but it can kill a T-72.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to take one against the T-72.
Well, that's what you have,
given-
so good luck.
Given the modern thermals and sights they've been equipped with, honestly, I don't think it's any worse than any of the other options. Given that it's sights and thermals and the ability to see first, to shoot first, that actually matter. And
Yeah, but they're Gen 2 thermal fleet.
I don't think they are. I think they're up-to-date thermals. The whole point is it's supposed to be a thoroughly modern upgrade.
Well, that part doesn't matter. The important part is it has thermals.
Yeah, but a T-72 stock comes with Gen 2 thermals.
And what's
Yeah,
the
T-72 doesn't come with thermals.
I thought it did. I thought it came with...
No, they
It
don't.
depends on which T-72.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
but
You're not. There's no thermals on a T-72A.
No. And even
the modern
Okay.
T-72s all have thermals.
yes, they do.
No.
But yes, some of the more modern T-72s do have thermals. Yes, but so do
Yes,
you.
some of the more modern ones.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so do you now, and you have a better fire control system, which the Russian tank may not have.
Well, no, that's not the important part. The important part is how's the tank being employed. You're probably still thinking of like 80s Cold War mass tank assault, tank wave assault doctrines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you give a M60 to Ukraine with thermals, they would take it and they would use it exactly how they would use it with every single other tank by itself and just sort of waiting for chances to basically bash the living shit out of whatever comes into its sight.
It's also worth pointing out that a lot of these M60s are usable in places where the Turks don't want to send their more capable armor. So, for example, in the battered ruins of northern Syria, do we want to commit our leopards? Probably not. But do we still need capable armor? Yeah, probably. What about modernized M60?
No, they did. Yeah, but they did commit their leopards.
No, I know, but what I mean is, it's much more acceptable to lose a modernized M60 than it is to lose a leopard.
It's
I put a
honestly.
modern A2 is going to be much harder to knock out than an M60.
Not with the upgrade packages they've actually given the M60, since given the threats
Yeah.
they're dealing with.
Yeah.
No, not
It'll
really.
it will help deal with some of the threats, but that's not the issue now, is it? You have an M60, you have M60, and it doesn't cost as much to upgrade the M60 to this package than actually just buying another Leopard.
What are we talking about?
Yeah. But
Modernized
the
version.
issue is,
The Turkish M60s.
Yeah, but it's like-
Why are you upgrading them?
So the reason,
around it, the fact that
Foxo, I
it's
can't
not-
understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Sorry, you might be too far away from the phone. I guess you're driving, so that probably won't change.
Yeah.
What were you trying to say? Because that tone I can hear clearly.
It was just about the cost of the it's the whole controversy around the modernization of the M60 is. It's gone to the point where, cost-wise, you might as well buy a new tank.
You're correct. They're not doing it for cost reasons. They're doing it because they're trying to buy time for the outlay with the Turks. Buy time for them to develop the outlay, then stand up production, then expand production and outfit their army. So your concern about expense was correct. And I see I did my normal of come in like a sledgehammer. Hello, everyone.
It's cyclic. The man exists to come in like a sledgehammer.
How are you
So
doing?
while you guys
No
were
need to argue with
while you guys were discussing that, I was looking up the image Dakota's posted. Apparently, the livery that the Tornado is based on, it took part in Operation Granby. Apparently, it's specifically the MiG Eater.
How far up do I have to scroll to?
I don't know where we are.
Maybe
Look,
we'll talk about
cyclic came in like a sledgehammer.
It was at 6:37.
Basically, the question that inspired all this was basically asking if it was thoughts on the Raytheon upgrade of the M60, and if the Turks stole it and called it their own upgrade package, and then we got into a side track about the M60's value in being upgraded and why it was actually a good idea.
Yeah, to be honest, I have a feeling it's convergent development. It's similar goals. You get a similar thing when you're starting with the same platform.
Yeah. You wish to modernize the M60 to make it combat relevant in the modern era? There's only so many ways you can do that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised the thing can even fit a 120, but it can apparently.
It's bigger than neighboring.
I mean,
I see. So
you can fit a 120 in a Leopard 1. That doesn't mean you should. The M60's got more room in the turret. Then again, hilariously, the Leopard 1 has more ergonomic room in the turret than the Leopard 2.
Which is saying something.
But, great, Berlin Wall in the middle of the turret and all that. But, Germans aren't exactly known for ergonomic turrets.
Yeah.
Oh, God almighty. Oh, dear.
Next question, please.
No, I think Cyclic's going somewhere.
No.
Okay, we're done. But yeah, M60, decently upgraded tank, probably likely to serve until the 10 years more. Maybe more. Who knows?
No, to be honest, the Turks aren't going to be the last user of the M60 or even the M48. Fun fact: if you ever tally up the total tanks in the European Union, I want to say about half to 2/3 of them are Greek.
Yeah.
And most of those are going to be Leopard 1s and M48s.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Next question is thoughts on the Boog. Is it the Boog? The Boog? The Boog.
The Bogue.
Is this the escort carrier?
Yes.
Vogue.
It did its job.
And then
Well,
the
that's the question.
next question is, even though it's the same, do you think the Ruler class is better than the Boog? No, it's literally just the British slapping a different name on the same platform.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
The attackers are the name,
No.
the name change. The Ruler are
No.
the purpose built.
Oh,
from
Phoenix
the-
is shown
Rulers-
up in
nope.
text.
Yeah,
And
rulers
Ruler's shown
are
up
all-
in the audience.
Rulers are also the Vogue class Moe, but they have minor differences such as they cut down on the range.
Well, yeah, but
Comrade
the important
Moo,
thing is-
would you like
yes.
to be drug up to the stage, or are you not able to talk?
I can bring the hook.
Well, let's see if he's able to talk or not right now.
Yes, I can unleash the hook. Oh, alternate Fram modernizations? Ooh! Fascinating.
Okay.
Oh boy.
He could.
Fascinating.
Yeah, the ruler class were built in the US as the Bogue class and entered service as the ruler class for the Royal Navy.
Fundamentally speaking, they're basically the same thing. They do the same job. They have basically mostly same operational capabilities. So
you're about right.
I
mean, if you want to hear me go absolutely hog wild with bad modernizations, that's honestly, I'm happy to bring you up just for that alone, because we are.
Well, I'd say then wait till the end of the questions.
Yeah,
then,
we are nearly
the
done with the
question,
questions. So yeah, so when we'll get to the end of the questions, oh god.
Then go ham.
Okay. Well, this is a good one. Next question. Thoughts on the? We're very nearly done, by the way. Thoughts on the US Army medium tank projects, the T-20, T-22, and T-23. Do you think the different types of prototype and design made the project, or presumably should be translated, led to the project being cancelled and eventually on hold until 1945 when the US fielded a new tank designed to the front?
That is a great question to save for when you next have Nick Moran around.
Well,
yeah.
Okay, so the thing is that all those programs weren't really. They are the programs that really help push forward to the point where the Americans finally settled down on the T-26.
Yeah, which became the M26.
A lot of iterative designs that carried over.
And it's important to bear in mind that maturity matters, as in maturity of design matters. So.
Yeah, but if I remember correctly, the T-20 is one with a turbo electric drive.
Yes, but
it's T-20 is what?
Which is sort of
it's not a turbo electric. That's a warship term, but it did have electric motors, I believe. Yes, one of them did.
That's the main thing for the. It's the hydroelectric drive. That's what you're talking about.
Hydroelectric.
Yeah, that's basically the big thing that the U.S. was trying to come up with to basically improve mobility and stuff like that as compared to the Shermans. It just generally did not work out very well.
But yeah, essentially they're all important stages of development. They're not the wacky prototype box.
Yes. All those tanks are basically what they are basically what told the U.S. U.S. Ordnance what worked and what doesn't work.
It's important to bear in mind that the U.S. Armored Corps was very, very strict on what they would and would not adopt. I believe they had to be pushed into accepting the Pershing.
Well, gee, I wonder why.
The U.S. It wasn't Armor Corps; it was Ground Forces.
Yes, Ground Forces.
Because armor didn't exist yet as a formalized community. Ground Forces was adamant that everything go through a proper testing procedure and not get rushed out into the field because they did not want potentially faulty equipment or equipment with unknown problems going to the front and unknown maintenance requirements going to the front. Because they were fighting on the other side of an ocean from their industrial base. They could not afford these sorts of things. And the other thing with Pershing is the engineering community was adamantly against it. They didn't have the bridges. They didn't have the pontoon bridges to support it.
Yeah.
So it was honestly a bad idea to send Pershing when they did because the field units could not take care of them.
There was an instance where the Pershings have to be left behind because they couldn't cross a bridge. So Shermans were driving across it, and the Pershings were just sitting there.
If I remember correctly, though, wasn't a big issue with the Pershing was that essentially the army didn't want to test it in the field.
Yes, because testing is the field is not the place for testing.
Battlefield is not the place to test equipment.
What was
there
that?
Is some degree have to do in the field. Just
no, we had plenty of, or certainly not in combat. We had plenty of capability to test vehicles over 15,000 miles of running. This was done with Hellcat, for example. So they did all sorts of all-terrain testing in the US as well, all sorts of maneuver testing and putting them in the hands of units back in the States to play with them and break things rather than breaking things on the front line.
Yeah. So basically the problems we're looking at are the big macro problems. What you're probably thinking of is like the little operational sort of little tidbits of problems that may occur, like if someone accidentally pushed like something into somewhere that may or may not break the tank. That's probably not something that would come up in just 15,000 miles of testing, but yeah.
Because I remember reading several cases of where it's essentially the best way of finalizing testing on the vehicle is just to give it to troops and fix the ways they break it.
Yes,
yes, but that's not done in combat.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like they didn't want to get. I remember reading that they were hesitant to even give them to army units stateside, which was part of the issue with the projects.
Because they hadn't been through their baseline testing first, so they didn't even know if units could accept them to use for initial field testing in the States.
Okay.
The big thing is if you give them to the field units, then they might. You don't have a lot of time to train them, and then you're basically pushing them straight into the enemy. Where it is also very possible where someone might see a Pershing on your side, see a giant muzzle brake, and think that, oh look, it must be a German tank. Let's blow it up. That's also a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
There were U.S. vehicles running around with muzzle brakes.
Yeah, there were,
including fairly big, fairly obvious ones.
Fireflies.
No, I'm specifically talking US tanks. The 76 Shermans were pretty common with them.
Oh, and of course you've also got the some versions
Hellcat,
of the Jackson.
Tank Destroyer.
Yeah, some versions of the Jackson also have a muzzle brake as well, don't they?
But usually when you're in the stress of combat, there are times where someone is just not going to care.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but that's not really a consideration to think about for this.
No, I'm just offering an example, that's all. Next question?
Yes, so the next question is a very simple one. As Azure Lane New Year 2025 is coming, what Chinese ships would you like to see added? I don't really have an opinion on this because, well, I don't know what Chinese ships you
do, though. It's actually something I've been looking into because there's been a debate in the warships forums of how would you do a Pan-Asian battleship line, and one that came to my attention is Vickers Armstrong design.
Talking about Azure Lane. Not well.
Let me finish.
Let him finish.
That can be one in the same fleet,
basically.
Vickers Armstrong design 332-A, given to the Republic of proposed to the Republic of China in 1907 for a 3-twin, 12-inch gun armored battleship.
Republic of China in 1907? That did not exist.
Well, no, you know what I mean by
it doesn't have to exist.
Basically. Yeah, it is China basically though. Yes. It was sold to China. It was proposed to them in 1907, and it basically would have been a cut-down dreadnought. 1 turret fore, 2 turrets aft, super firing.
Nice.
Which I think could be an interesting Chinese ship to see. Also, some of their other designs, like their high-speed battle cruiser, quote-unquote, design they have, which was 4 twin 10-inch guns.
Interesting.
Like Britain, especially Vickers Armstrong's, had a lot of designs to sell to China in the early 1900s. But they just didn't choose to go with any of them in the end. So that's probably what I would end up doing.
Next.
Okay. The next question is actually the final catch-up question, and we've done them in 2 hours, which is actually pretty good. What is the thought process on the RDF/LT and the HSTV-L light tank project? Why were they installing semi-automatic 75mm guns?
I would recommend you check out the Chieftain's videos on this because he goes into far more detail, but in short, they were concerned about large numbers of Soviet tanks, and they figured out that they could indeed get the accuracy, the rate of fire, and the penetration required to deal with the armor that they felt was on Soviet tanks at the time and engage that way. There's various critiques that can be given on this, but when you're talking about T-55 and T-62 and you've got a very high velocity 75, 76 millimeter gun and you're slinging dart, so APFSDS, you can really bully them.
Especially when you're firing in at a very high rate as well.
And when you're talking the fire control that's available to them, it's pretty deadly.
Yeah.
But, how well that works out in practice when the other guy's also iterating and developing his own tank designs continually. But as a sort of rapid deployment force vehicle, yeah.
Knight is saying that the Shenwu and the Fu Po and the Chen Hang have been announced.
Cool.
Whatever those are. But
One's a cruiser. Chen Fang is one of their early destroyers by the fact it only has single torpedo tubes.
Whoopee.
And I would need to recheck on what the other one was.
Apparently there's 2 more waiting to be announced, but anyway.
Yeah, Chengdu's the heavy cruiser.
Alright, so that's the end of questions.
Yes, so questions are now open on YouTube and Discord, and that means I will now bring up What is Moo to talk about the Fram refits, which I'm actually very curious
that
to
he
hear
is
about.
doing notionally.
Indeed. This'll be fun.
Yeah, so I mean, basically the gist of it is looking at how far you can stretch a Fletcher Sumner, or specifically a gearing
Oh
hull.
no.
Okay.
And I mean, trying to keep things relatively sane. And I was looking at the 3-inch 62, the Italian Campato, and it's surprisingly small and lightweight compared to a twin 5-inch 38 mount. Or I guess that's not really that surprising, but anyway. And I was running the numbers, and I realized that if instead of on a Fram 1 gearing with the ASRock, going from keeping the 5-inch guns, if you swap them to 3-inch guns, there's enough space and there's enough weight left over to put a Mark 13 Terrier missile launcher amidships and a Sea Sparrow aft, and the idea of that delights me, and so that's what I'm running the numbers on. I've been fucking around in ship bucket. Pardon me. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. I should have checked that at first.
You're fine. It's ramblings. We're not shy about it.
It's
oh
sort
my
of a
God.
60s.
That is
sort of a 60s 70s design.
That is Moo. When you said you were stretching the hulls to see how far you could go with them,
well, it's
you
not
weren't
physically
kidding.
stretched.
No. I mean, but that is
that
is an aggressive level of re-engineering.
Is that 3 different types of 3-inch guns on it?
It's okay. So what the little thing above on where the Mount 52 is supposed to be, that's like a shitty Sea Whiz that isn't a Phalanx that I doodled up, just as like a stand-in basically. Because shrug, I don't know. I mean, I could put a Phalanx there, but that would be boring looking. Everyone uses Phalanx. I mean, the general gist of it is that you get, you have a gearing hull, but it gives you a fairly substantial air warfare escort capability at the cost of being an ancient, decrepit hull, and you don't have a good long-range air search radar. Because unlike what do you call it? Adams class, you don't have the SPS 49 for your long-range search, or 48. No, 49. Or did they use SPS 10? Anyway, basically,
I'll check.
The U.S. Navy, the way that it worked was that your air warfare ships would have a pair of radars. You'd have a lower frequency, longer range, two-dimensional radar that gives you azimuth and range, and then you'd have a three-dimensional radar, which basically for the entire Cold War was the SPS 48. Though earlier it was 39 and 52, or depending on what ship. That would give you your three-dimensional track. So you'd go from the two-dimensional track when that got into about 150 miles. Depending on the situation, you swap to the three-dimensional search radar, and that gives you a much better sort of positioning of what you're looking at, so that you can then point the tracking radar at it and hand off to that for your final engagement. So, but the gearing here does not have that. It just has the three-dimensional radar, so you'd be relying on some other ship in the task force that has the larger two-dimensional air search radar that can track things out beyond 100, 150 miles. Something like a Farragut class or an Adams class. An actual destroyer. Then I need to come back and redraw this because there's some tomfoolery that's happening. But the other thing is, I also need to check whether the Mark 29s actually fit there, because I have a sneaking suspicion there's not enough width on the hull.
I was about to ask, is the ram hull big enough to take a heli?
This is basically just using the extendable hangar the Canadians used on their destroyers to field an ASW Huey on a Sumner / Gearing hull instead of Dash, because Dash is terrible. And also,
what, you don't want to accidentally nuke yourself?
I'd rather not. That's
I cast atomic bomb.
I've always found a very interesting and perplexing thing that the Italians of all people had ASW Hueys and the U.S. Navy was never interested in it. I have a great fondness for the ASW first generation Hueys. They're just little guys. They got a dipper. You can get a Mark 46 on them. I think Soda Boys, maybe. I don't know. Just throw them out the door.
Hueys are great.
What the heck is this? God, that really is what if you just crewed a Dash.
Anyway.
It's so ugly.
It's French.
It's Italian. It's the Augusta 106.
We'll have to harass Phoenix with that later.
Yeah.
This is how I check and see if Phoenix is listening.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think
He
kind
was
of has
typing
that one
earlier, I
coming.
think.
Look, that's horrendous.
It's late. Alright.
What the tomfuckery am I looking at?
It's the Italian equivalent of the Westland Wasp fleet.
Yeah.
That thing looks like a bubble canopy on steroids.
It's a cartoon helicopter.
It is a cartoon helicopter.
I'll tell you what it is. Bloody insanity.
I mean,
Knight asked a question.
listen, the Westland Wasp existed, so like, I don't know. There's two combat proven torpedo, or there's one combat proven torpedo bomber here, and it's not the one with a spinny wings. I shouldn't say that. The Wasp, one of the
Wasps does have an ASW
ones.
kill with an ATGM.
Oh yeah, that's right, against that Argentinian submarine. Yeah.
I had assumed that the Pakistanis had killed something with one at one point. Yeah, the Wasp is based on the beautiful Saro Skeeter, which is one of the ugliest things I've ever seen. It makes Soviet helicopters look gamely.
Looks like he got stung by a bee.
Yeah, it's 1950s helicopter design was not good because no one knew what not to do. Fiat made this like the dumbest looking helicopter I've ever seen, which is I mean, it existed. I don't know what else to say. I don't know why it looks like a mid-century modern like drinks cabinet with rotors on top.
What the heck is that?
It's a helicopter.
What? That No. What the fuck? That looks like something you'd build in Little Big Planet.
Yeah. It looks like a mid-century modern coffee table.
It really does.
Rotors. Like, I don't know what Italy was doing in the 60s, but it's probably not legal.
Probably isn't. Right. Okie dokie. Where are we? Where are we? I opened the questions.
Knight asked a question.
He did.
I can't find any pictures of it flying, and I don't know if that's because the camera broke because it was so ugly, or
Hosh looks better than that.
If it couldn't fly.
Hosh looks better than that.
The ship?
Yes, the
That's
ironclad.
a good-looking ship. I like how the French that.
Oh my god! I have an ally. Excellent. It begins. The fight back against the conventional view of French ships begins now.
Look, if you think I'm not used to bullying Moo.
By our powers combined.
It's
actually no. I don't. Actually, there's an easier way to defeat fleet in terms of French pre-dreadnoughts. I just have to get Sol to get some more work done.
Listen,
right.
If I can make enough ship girl versions of French ironclads that fleet runs away from them.
Why would I run away? Why would I?
Someone might confuse it for a light ship or a rock.
Why would I run away from attractive women?
You really don't want anyone to answer that.
I can say a lot of things here.
Yeah, you really don't want anyone to answer that.
I know. I just realised after that it was shit. That backfired, didn't it? That backfired.
There's a reason everybody just went silent.
I'll give you a
I'll give you a pass on that statement. Clark
if they're
might not,
holding a
but
gun?
Yeah, so
then you might want to walk away from them.
yeah, so very quickly, to move swiftly forwards with speed. 9681
Listen.
asks, as the SSN submarine, or just the modern submarine generally, has vindicated what the K class was trying to do, but that means the World War One, specifically anti-submarine submarines that the British built. Are there any other World War One inventions that the advancement of technology has vindicated? I think the
the towed-array sonar.
Yeah.
that's a good choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
The military aircraft, or would we argue that was vindicated during the war itself?
I mean, World
It was
War I
vindicated
is like,
during the war.
Yeah.
So I suppose the thing is something that was tried during the First World War, but didn't actually.
That's a good one. If you want a good book, speaking of World War One anti-submarine, Seek and Strike by William Hackman is a good one. World War, I think recoilless guns. Those have
That's
been,
a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Though I will say that I think they've gone from vindicated and working to now people are like, well, maybe the overpressure giving all of the people shooting them brain damage isn't good.
No, perhaps not.
A lot of the World War One stuff, though, like really like came to maturity. I mean, I'll say horse cavalry, but that's because I'm being, purposefully not obtuse, but oppositional.
Next question is from Discord. Which is nope, it's Brandon Larson, I believe.
No. Wellesley asked the question.
I don't even know how to answer that because I don't even have a context for it. But I suppose I can. I don't know. Fleet, you don't skip questions. You made that promise. Admiral Wellesley asks, what if King George VI got Excalibur from Fate Grand Order in 1939 with all the magic and shit? I have no idea.
My girlfriend is really into Fate and has made me watch like 3 of the Fate versions, and I don't know what is going on in any of them, even after watching them with her, so...
I don't know either.
So basically, given King George VI a sword.
Okay, he had swords, so that's good.
Yeah.
Are we making him into a top-heavy anime girl as well?
Probably given Excalibur. If it's Excalibur, it makes you King Arthur, essentially.
Okay, Phoenix's comment there.
Yes, that is basically correct. No, Wellesley, that is basically correct. Well, not every single historical figure was gender swapped.
No, they left Joan of Arc a woman.
Because there's no need to gender swap her.
They did leave Gilgamesh and Cuchulainn as
That's
men.
Because Gilgamesh is too gay to be contained.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, most historical figures were
also Alexander the Great. He was there.
Yeah, but he's also flamboyantly gay.
I mean, I can make the joke about Greek men and women, but I won't here.
Like, I'm sorry. Alexander the Great being like a big beefy guy, that's just historically inaccurate. It ruins the immersion as he's talking to King Arthur, who's a blonde-haired anime girl. King Arthur is Welsh. Where's Hood? Hood should back me up on this, because King Arthur is Welsh, and this is... I need I need Fate to be redubbed with Rob Brydon. Anyway. King Arthur. Okay, so Phoenix, interesting question. You've activated my trap card. King Arthur comes from, as I understand it, Arturius, right, is a Roman name, but you have this fun period after the direct Roman control of Britain ends. So you no longer have Romano-Britain, but it's before, like, the proper Middle Ages, where there's tons of people who are, like, culturally pretty Roman still going around. And, like, even though trade and stuff got disrupted and governance was disrupted with Rome, like, people were still around. They were still moving around. There still was, like, the Cornish tin trade and stuff, which ran all the way into the Middle East. So you have this interesting period where there's people going around with Latin-ish names. It's not Anglo yet, because this is prior to the Anglo-Saxon invasion in the 800s. This would be quote unquote like the 400s to 600s, if memory serves me correct.
Yes.
So you're looking at, Latin and Celtic speaking peoples who are Britons, not Anglo-Saxons, because of course the UK is like 4 layers deep of people who have invaded it and then somehow caught Britishness. But yeah, this is what undergraduate British history from a British university gives you. Yeah, King Arthur's interesting.
So let's see on YouTube.
It would be night again.
If Mikasa could have a successorship post 1920, what would it be? I assume it would have to be a ship of similar displacement to take her place.
It wouldn't be.
Yeah, why would it?
It'd be probably another Japanese battleship.
Well, wasn't she a coastal defense ship at that point?
I mean, at that point,
like, she wasn't a proper battleship.
Well, no, by that point,
no, but if they're fully replacing her in the fleet, I'd assume they'd just name one of their battleships after her.
I was assuming that the only way that they would get that hull through the Washington Naval Treaty was if she was a coastal defense ship.
Oh no, the only way they got the hull through was by declaring her a museum ship and encasing her.
No. I mean like the replacement hull, like grandfathering a replacement hull for the coastal defense ship Mikasa into the Washington Treaty.
The problem is that coastal defense ships weren't a category.
Oh no! Knight is saying
that's
her name.
Yeah, that's why.
Knight is saying come up a ship to bear her name.
Oh, that's really easy. It would just slap that name on a Tosa class or a Tosa class successor. Job done.
Yeah,
I could see them making a specific carve out for a short range 12-inch gun armed small displacement ship, but
why?
Realistically, depending how literally you take Mikasa replacement, right?
It's supposed to just be a ship bearing her name.
Oh, okay.
In that case, then
it'd just be another battleship of whatever.
Yeah, slap the name on a Tosa or a number 13. Job done.
Did the Japanese do that much?
You're talking about. Pre-Washington,
like naming new ships after older ships. There was no new Satsuma, I know.
For example, the Congo, sorry. Fuso was named after, like, the name Fuso was reused from one of their ironclad corvettes.
Okay.
The Japanese did reuse names every now and then.
It's just they weren't naming after the previous ship. They were naming it after the same thing they named the other ship after.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Because, there's the two... Is it 2 Yamatos that were laid down but never finished? Or ordered or whatever? I know there was one more Yamato that was laid down. but wasn't named.
Yeah, there was a fourth one, but they didn't even bother finishing up construction on that. Just stopped building her because the war was going pretty badly by then.
Yeah, just the question of like what names would they have called for those is the question. I think they were naming them after historic like provinces or something at that point.
I know there was a name written somewhere. It was just never officially given to her. I'm trying to remember. It starts with S or something like that. Shikishima or something like that. I don't remember.
I assume they would have picked a province.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've seen it's either Shikishima or Satsuma. Both are provinces, and both have great historical significance.
Yeah. That's okay, I guess. There's more fun province names. I like Bungo. There's Bungo and Bingo.
Yeah. So, Brandon Larson asks, what if all the nations of Earth and their respective militaries fought the nations of Strangereel and all their respective militaries in a completely conventional war? Who wins and why? And what he says about the super weapons and such is that you can't have nukes, and Arcbird and Solg are banned, so nothing orbital, but the things like the burst missiles, the flying fortresses of Strangereel, all that stuff, all the advanced aircraft as well, are not.
Are psychopathic mutes still a thing?
Yeah, this is the thing. I think Strange...
It is the psychopathic mutes of unlimited ammo.
I think. Well, no, into that, but I'm pretty sure Strangereel just wins this hands down. Strangereel Phoenix is Ace Combat's world.
Well, so here's the thought I have is that the missiles in Strangereel are
horrifically bad.
So like
they're very bad.
Yeah, if you get into WDR and Strangereel,
they are. Yeah, all of their
right.
All their tracking. Yes,
but are we going off what they're meant to be or what they're like in games?
I was assuming we're going off of how they perform in the game, where they're pure pursuit with a pretty poor flight.
Their entire tracking methodology is horrific.
But like, I mean, if it's just like the plane has like, if it's like the plane has a Guerrillian AIM-9Ms, then like.
But we know they have. We know Ace Combat has equivalent missiles, but for gameplay reasons, they're nerfed down.
Different, yes.
Right.
Yeah, but it's also a case you got stuff like the semi-actives and the specialist missiles, which operate like actual.
Well, even so, here's the other thing. Even in the cutscenes and shit, right? Like Kestrel's escort doesn't engage the sea skimming missiles with their own surface-to-air missiles. It's only down to Kestrel's phalanx. Despite the fact that they have the missiles to do it, they should have the combat system to do it if we're assuming that they're Ticonderoga-class cruisers, right? Mm-hmm. They just flat-out don't. And it's entirely implied in that cutscene that the only things that can do it are phalanx.
Which basically means that,
So if we take that logic, they are so far behind on missiles, it's a joke.
I mean, funnily enough, that would explain why the Erusians are so proud and so keen to group one of their main fleets around a battleship.
What?
Well, they also gave the battleship VLS and stuff like that too, so...
I mean, there's a proposal for that. Where did
and to be the Aegir fleet also has a carrier force in it too. Mm-hmm. It's just got carriers. It's got 2 carriers, I think, and 2 battleships. Though that detachment of it that you engage in Ace Combat 04 has 1 and 1.
The Stonehenge in play.
To be fair, Phoenix also... Ace Combat also does have a lot of electronic warfare to quite nuts levels.
Yeah.
Actually...
there's just a lot more aircraft. Let's be real.
The funny thing is, Actually, not to hilarious levels, because their aircraft, like an F-15 or their version of the F-16 or the F-18 Hornets, are missing their self-protect systems that are inbuilt to the aircraft.
Yeah, and I would also point
They
out
don't have them.
The question is, are we going off what they're meant to be in universe or in game?
Well, thing is,
I think
Dragon.
that's the crux of
problem,
the question.
The problem, Dragon.
If we go off in game, then Strange Reel gets wiped because it's a game.
I mean, even
intentionally nerfing all the equipment so you have a better gameplay experience.
Yeah, it's like, but they got the issue of
at the same time the universe exists for the game.
Yeah, but it's a sort of thing.
Whose side is Italy on? Because Italy exists in Strange Reel. Is Italy on a? Is Italy on?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does. Pizza exists.
Yes, it must do. Oh dear.
There's
Really? Are we quoting Maxon now? Really? Is that where Ramblings degenerated to?
No, look, there's
that's all that is
combat. Maybe Italy doesn't exist, but Italians exist in Strange Reel at minimum.
Well, no, they don't.
Oh dear.
Well, yeah, because Longcaster at one point says, "Let's go to a nice Italian bistro."
Yeah, this is the anyway.
Right.
But
which means that the Italians exist.
Yeah,
I'm literally looking at the map, and there is nothing denoting Italy or Italians existing at all.
Well, I'm sorry, but
I'm sorry, Dragon, but literally that does.
Yeah, like that.
No, it actually doesn't. Because if you want to go,
and that is formal dialogue from the AWACS, which does in base combat make it canon.
So then, Cyclic, if we're going off this logic, then explain to me how Eldar, who've not met monkeys at all, monkey.
Don't.
If we're going off that,
quote GW, they're not calling humans monkeys
in a lot of fictions.
They're not
these words they shouldn't.
Well,
they're not.
I mean,
it's a different word. It's a highly different meaning.
They are not.
It's an eldritch horror that they're talking about.
Also, like that's James Workshop. We're talking about Bandai Namco. Like these are two different IP organizations that handle like canon differently. Like,
yeah, and
there's a much tighter hold on what is and isn't canon in Strange Reel, and obviously this is an oversight and a mistake. But I like the idea of.
The comedy value alone is worthwhile.
Why is this
Strange Reel versus Earth is going to be decided by two psychopathic mutes in experimental jet fighters.
Also, why is New Zealand just there? Like everything else in Strange Reel is different.
Punishment for being New Zealand.
New Zealand is just
New Zealand doesn't exist.
It's different. Strange Reel is just a really reorganized Earth. All the continents just different. They are all shaped based on our continents.
It'd be really funny if the New Zealand was an upside down Italy boot.
Oh, good lord, that's funny.
Technically, if you look deep enough, you could probably find an Italian boot in here.
Also,
What
Aurelia.
the hell is Fado?
Oh,
it's just a country named Fado.
Oh yeah,
In all caps.
There was Fato. I don't know. Like they fight the Belkans. They suffer from the ray being fired. You know, and they get bombed by a giant flying fuck. But apart from that, they exist.
There's also just so much physics-defying crud in the game.
Yeah.
You can't really compare real life to it.
Also, they have, mass production of literal laser beam emitting jets that have no pilot and can perform 20G maneuvers and not care.
Yeah, I would also
making a brain capable of handling that is fine. It's the meat bag.
Are you telling me that it's impossible?
Well, yeah, these are completely autonomous fighters that can do this.
Yeah, this is the funny thing. Like, I still say that Earth has it because yes, our airborne fortress is coming. What do you mean with I'm sorry, but look,
if we're going off a war, I don't think Earth necessarily does have it because with what weapons these planes have, they can just render asunder most places. Yes, they might not make it home, but neither side's winning this.
And if we go off Ace Combat 7, and especially the drone production, yes, you could argue that per pound for pound, Earth's air forces and Earth's armed forces are better. But when you're fighting that many drones that are coming at you every day, it's
the other thing I will say is there are multiple nations in Strange Real that have air forces the scale of the United States Air Force.
Yeah.
There's 2 in real life.
The United States
and one
and
of them
the
is
United
like
States Navy.
60% MiG-29 or MiG-21.
No, the United States and the People's Republic of China.
China. Sorry.
Oh, good lord. We're in trouble. We're in trouble? Question mark.
I mean, to be fair, you could put it very nicely. Strange Real's a state of constant war.
Yeah, they keep fighting each other for some reason. Because no one developed the funny, friendly sunshine. Well, they did.
They did. Ultra used
two different things.
They've had more nuclear weapons used in anger in Strange Real than we have.
Why don't they actually build
a the fact that but
they do. Fleet.
It's more of a case of Strange Real never understood that nuclear weapon bad.
That is what V2 is for.
So, the delivery methods are so bad that they weren't very effective, which I think is probably more the case.
I mean, you could argue that to a degree, but at some point, they do have big strategic fleets and big strategic bombers.
Yeah, that's a bad delivery method.
Yeah, and then of course,
but even when we were using fleets of big strategic nuclear bombers, we understood nuclear weapon bad.
Yeah, and I would also point out the worst.
Oh,
boy.
That's all. Nuclear God, here we go.
Listen, there's a book called Bigger Bombs for a Better Tomorrow, which is supposedly critical of how the 50s they were just building bigger bombs without really thinking about why, and I think that's hogwash. Just build a bigger bomb.
Big bombs equal cool bombs.
Listen, if one person has one nuke, that's very concerning because they can tell everyone what to do. But if the more nukes you have, the more deterrence you do.
Well, I'm gonna hit you, I swear to God.
This is specifically calibrated to annoy Phoenix. I'm stealing Cyclic's jobs. Why would you launch the nukes into the sun when you could launch the nukes in... Oh, I can't say that.
I don't think launching nukes into the sun didn't do much.
Well, it just takes a lot of rocket fuel to fire things into the sun.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of painful.
Like, I would also point
out
the old...
fire things into the sun in general.
Yeah, I would also...
Also, here's one.
It's so bigger than normal.
Yeah.
So also, it mentions a number of super weapons are banned, but a lot of them are still allowed. Stuff like Excalibur and what's it called, Stonehenge and Chandelier are all still operational, according to the question.
Oi, Shiva.
What happens with the space elevator?
That's a very...
that breaks the laws of physics.
The space elevator would be interesting.
Pretty much all of these super weapons and their flying stuff.
This is what I was going to say before, right? This is why it all depends on where everyone meets, because if the fight happens in Strange World, then obviously Earth is a big problem, but if it happens in Earth, all these Strange World people are going to immediately turn to paste and their drones are going to break apart because they're all breaking the laws of physics by the way they fly and such, so they're going to tear themselves apart and won't be our problem.
What they're left with is going to have a very, very bad time.
Yeah.
If your surface-to-air missiles cannot engage standoff PGMs or cruise missiles, and you don't have any sort of BMD capability in your fleet, and you go up against, say, a joint force of the VMF, the Plan, the United States Navy, you are having a very bad day.
Congratulations, your fleet is now a collection of reefs. I hope you're glad to donate
Their
yourselves.
fleets would probably be taken down by a single squadron of V1Vs with Elgrasm, but maybe that's just me.
The problem is how many Sidewinders.
Let the backfires have their ride, even if it is a death ride to Ocean
What
Tomcats.
if they have too many planes for us to shoot them all down because we run out of missiles?
Real threat when they fly.
I think gunfire control is so much better.
We're gonna have to scramble rush production of the what do you
let
call
it not be forgotten that there is a U.S. destroyer right now with a cruise missile kill marking on its 5-inch gun.
Is it Peregrine or Cuda?
The other thing I'll note is when you start talking about ranges of Ace Combat anti-ship missiles, a great many of them require you to get into real-life 5-inch gun range, 5-inch 62 gun range.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even the best 5-inch there is.
No, it's not.
What was that missile that was like a half-length AMRAAM?
There's Peregrine, there's Cuda.
Yeah.
We'd have to like make that, put it on the F-15EX that carries like 36 AMRAAMs or whatever to have 72 missiles to shoot all these idiots down.
Yeah, I would also point out that is what V2 is for. You know, because that's someone has to say it. Someone has to say it. Yes, I think so. Next question is from YouTube. Let's have a look. Oh, that's... I'm sorry, this isn't a question, but I have to read it aloud. If Bingo was chosen, then the Yamato-class Bingo would have been a massive bingo haul. Yamato... Bingo? You know Bingo? The game? You go and do Bingo?
Bingo! Yeah. It's a game old women play in the UK.
Yeah, I know the game. I'm, like, confused as to what makes this funny.
Yeah.
A bingo hall is where a horde of old women congregate to play bingo.
So there could
it's
have
also
been a bingo
Japan.
province or a battleship named Bingo. There's also one named Bungo.
Ooh.
I like the two-ship class of IJN Bingo and IJN Bungo.
Oh, dude. Okay, that is funny. So no actual YouTube question.
That just sounds like a racist stereotype. Bingo Bungo.
It is literally not. These are actual provincial names.
Yes, but it sounds like it.
Take it up with historical Japan.
Yeah.
It's like the city of Bongo in the Congo.
Oh.
To be fair, Foxo, you had the same reaction to World of Warships when their new fast battleship was called Bungo, named after the province.
Yes, but I'm sorry, but where I'm from, that's slang for smoking a blunt.
Poseidon asks, if the German battle cruisers, Goeben and Breslau, well, first of all, one of those is a light cruiser, but in World War I hadn't hit a minefield, how would their engagement with the Agamemnon and Lord Nelson have gone? I don't think... Let me just... Well, yes, I know.
Lord Nelson's a pre-dread, right?
Yeah, both Agamemnon.
Yeah. Agamemnon is an armored cruiser.
Is he talking about... Because I'm just trying
to... I thought both. I thought they're both...
Agamemnon... Agamemnon... I can't speak. She's Nelson's sister.
Yeah,
so they're both pre-dreadnought or semi-pre-dreadnoughts.
Yeah, I'm just...
Which, granted, given it is Goeben and her record against the Russian pre-dreadnoughts, there's a fight you could very well lose.
Yeah, and these are sort of the last and the greatest of the pre-dreadnoughts.
Yeah.
These are built alongside the dreadnought.
Yeah, I'm sorry, like, the thing that will happen is if they're cornered and can't run. Hopefully, if it's Breslau that gets damaged, Goeben will just run. Goeben will probably take off what crew can be taken off, put a torpedo into Breslau to sink her, and then continue her run to the Ottoman Empire. If it's Goeben that is damaged by a mine and unable to run, Breslau will be told to run for the Ottoman Empire still, and Goeben will stand and fight. Unfortunately, that's a fight she will lose. And
did the British have anything chasing down?
Yes, she's been chased by a bunch of I-class battle cruisers. Indefatigable and indomitable. She's being chased
and inflexible.
Yeah,
and inflexible. Definitely inflexible.
Yeah, and inflexible is also there. So even if, like, to be fair,
he's forgetting that his British must show. Yes, Wellesley.
No, to be fair,
yes, technically, the North Nelsons probably have enough fighting them to slow them down for the.
Right. See, Dodders.
Catch up.
Change the texture of that picture of the submarine to bread, and then you've got the bread knot.
Aye. But yeah, no, I'm sorry. Goban versus those two ships, that is like she might sink one or badly damage one, but she's dying. If she can't run, she dies. That is, it's basically down to it's the era where ships cannot divide their fire. She has a set of fire control for all of her guns. She cannot accurately divide her fire between two targets, which means that one of those two British dreadnoughts is going to have peacetime gunnery.
It's not that these are some of the best pre-dreadnoughts on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not armored cruisers that she's fairly well protected against.
No.
So. And these pre-dreadnoughts do have the modernized fire control.
Yeah, it's like
they're not the Russian pre-dreadnoughts.
Yeah, the thing is that fire control can direct their main guns salvos and also correct their 9.2-inch gun salvos as well. As long as they're fired with enough separation between the two types of gun firing, so you can tell fall of shot.
Yeah. Just because they're pre-dreadnoughts doesn't mean they ain't a threat.
No, they absolutely are. So, next question.
I say we throw Brandon Larson's Discord question at Phoenix and see what happens.
What did Brandon Larson say?
You're in charge of the Turkish Navy in 1925 to build up a navy for a future war in 15 years. You have unlimited money and enough infrastructure for 500 tons of building capacity.
Hang on a minute.
Hang
on a minute. We've skipped a better ton of questions, but I guess we go.
I just saw that, but let's get the other ones and we'll save that one for Phoenix. We'll give them some time to think about it.
Yeah. Naval infrastructure for 500,000 tons of building capacity.
What are you building this?
Or over time, or is this like the size of the fleet we can build to? I think it's got.
I think that's
for a year.
That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous amount
I build Mechagodzilla and conquer the entire planet.
Yeah, like 500,000 tons of building capacity per year is insane. That's
and unlimited
money. The United States will be able to outbuild you, but
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of gets into goofy like magic hand wavy territory where you can really just say whatever.
Yeah, like
I mean, the problem is
if you had 25,000 tons
the biggest
per
problem
year,
is that
like 25,000 or even 50,000 tons per year, that would be, you'd have to make some choices and think. But 500,000 tons per year?
What I'd say the biggest problem here is even if you have lots of money as Turkey and a lot of capacity for construction, you can't build anything by yourself. You just don't know how. Nobody in your country knows how. And so you're entirely dependent on foreign yards to do the work.
Yeah,
even to the extent that
he's revised it down to 100,000 tons now, but even so, that's still too much.
That is still quite a bit.
Well, it depends on if it's purely civil or not. I mean, granted, it's still a lot for Turkey of this era because Turkey just does not have an industry worth speaking of. But I should double check where they actually were at this point in time.
Yeah. So while Phoenix is thinking about that, so bear in mind, Phoenix, they did actually do the rebuild of Yavuz themselves. Like Turkey rebuilt Yavuz and fixed her themselves.
Yeah.
That's an interesting definition of themselves.
I mean, they had some help from abroad, but it was done in a Turkish yard, which is a big achievement, I think. Right, so where were we?
Phoenix, you can be one.
Go back up.
Yeah.
So
we did that one. Aha! Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Involved a lot of foreign support, but...
Admiral Wellesley asks, what if the White Star Line didn't go bankrupt and merge with Cunard? Titanic doesn't sink, depression is better for the liner industry. Well, let me get the first thing out of the way. Olympic still keeps hitting things, except this time she's hitting things for White Star, not Cunard. So, whoopee. Because it's Olympic, and Olympic isn't doing its job properly if it's not running into things.
Olympic single-handedly will bankrupt the White Star Line. Have you seen her repair bill? It's like the compensation for Hawk.
Yeah.
Titanic, not thinking, also has a very large implication on the amount of lifeboats being carried.
Yeah. Yeah,
There
that is a problem.
There is bound to be some form of Titanic level of sinking. Just
There will be. There will be. It'll probably be during the Great War, which is honestly a horrific thought. It may even be Lusitania herself, which is a horrible thought.
Now, with some of the stuff Hamburg America's trying to get away with, no.
Yeah.
Their stuff's going to go down without the Titanic.
But honestly, you've basically got White Star competing with Cunard still. They'll be building follow-on liners to the Olympics in the post-World War I environment.
White Star being afloat by insurance fraud.
Yeah, like I say, all you've basically got is another competitor for Cunard, just like they were historically, but for longer. And eventually, though, as competition from the airline and airship industry grows, in the 30s, you will probably see them merge later than later. Yeah, later than historical, but still. Oh no,
Britannic also doesn't get renamed.
Renamed?
Britannic was renamed, or she was renamed into Britannic.
Oh, what was she before?
Gigantic or something like that?
Oh yeah. Well, no, she's still gonna get renamed
into Britannic.
Nah, it depends.
Yeah, because it was to do with the Jubilee.
Oh yes, she's still gonna get renamed.
It wasn't because of Titanic. It was because it was something to do with Crown.
Yeah, and she's still and of course she's still gonna hit a mine because we haven't changed where that mine is in the Mediterranean, and we haven't changed Britannic's course during the World War I. So she's still gonna hit that mine and sink.
May actually be worse though.
Well, if Hamburg America.
Because after Titanic, Britannic and Olympic got their entire internal substructure.
Bulkheads.
Subdivision redone.
Yeah.
And they actually had horizontal bulkheads installed.
Well, they had them already.
Waterline.
Well, they had them already.
Not above the waterline.
No, they didn't. Well, no, it wasn't. No, they went above the waterline, but they didn't go too far above the waterline.
Part of the issue with Titanic was the horizontal bulkhead stopped at the waterline.
Well,
the vertical ones went above it.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Which is why when you see which around the Titanic, there's damage from where the compartment's flooded, and it's over flooded into another compartment.
Yeah, but
that wasn't compromised.
Yeah.
That was Olympic and Britannic get rebuilt because of Titanic.
Yeah.
To have those extra vertical bulkheads.
Okay.
So horizontal bulkheads.
On the other hand, Titanic troop carrier or troop transport.
Yeah. And Wellesley, as I said previously, you haven't prevented White Star and Cunard merging. They will have to merge eventually. It's just
White Star gets bought out by Disney.
Over my dead.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Over my dead body.
What do you mean?
Seriously, did it be merging in the 60s?
You can't win against the big Great Walt.
Why would
they'll be merging in the 60s and Disney buying cruise liners and...
Oh, good lord! No! White Star won't last that long.
They won't.
With insurance fraud, they will.
Yeah.
No, they'll probably last into the late 40s. I think World War II is going to be hard on them.
It will be.
The appendix to find Turkey here.
But it's also a case of there's going to be a lot of demand for cruises after World War II. Only the rationing, like there was historically.
Yes, but...
And where there is demand, a White Star Line finds a way.
I suppose, but I just...
And during the war, their ships are going to be used as fast troop transports.
They are going.
Which they were paid for, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And they were paid quite handsomely.
Yes.
Basically because of the risk. Like, yes, you're fast enough that you don't need to sail in convoy and you can outrun anything on the high seas, and I do mean anything. It's like it doesn't matter if it's Scharnhorst, Gneisenau, or even one of the Bismarcks. Queen Mary just goes, "Ha! You people are slow. Speed!" and just runs away over the horizon, laughing hysterically at 35 knots.
But then a condor looks at you and goes, "You think you're going fast? Adorable."
Yes, but good luck actually, getting a run on Queen Mary when she's dodging and weaving like an absolute madman.
Oh no!
Destroyers got hit at full speed, Fleet.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Queen Mary getting one of those early hurricane on a catapult?
I mean, if we want to talk about comedic reactions to being attacked, Olympic going, "I'm going to chop you into little bits," submarine is the funniest. Olympic just casually runs over a U-boat and then chops it into tiny little pieces with their propellers.
I'm sorry, but that's the lame one of her crashes.
Yeah.
The funny one is when she hits the Hawk, even though people die, it's a case of you just ran over a literal cruiser.
Well, no, actually, she didn't hit the Hawk. The Hawk hit her.
I hope she hit the Hawk because she turns
immaterial.
Yeah. Because she makes an unexpected turn to starboard.
No,
which leads to Hawk smashing into her side.
Let me have a quick look.
Yeah,
that's how the song goes.
Yeah, but we're talking about ocean-sailing ships. Whoever has the tonnage wins.
Yeah.
Right away.
Let me have a nosy. So where are I? So. Oh no, you were right. Olympic turned to starboard. Yeah, it wasn't unexpected. It was because the wide radius was like, shit.
Yeah, but it was a case. It was unexpected to Hawk.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Right. So next question, which is
That's a phrase.
You want me to report back on what I was looking at? So unfortunately, my data tables don't actually include Turkey or the Ottoman Empire because their production levels are just that low compared to everybody else. Yeah, so I guess it's getting back to the question. So if you have infinite monies, what you're going to do is you're going to buy a lot of ships from European yards. You can't buy capital ships because the Washington-Able Treaty bans anyone from producing capital ships for other navies. But you can buy up to 10,000-ton heavy cruisers. And I guess you could invest in having the infrastructure support that, but you're not going to be building up a Turkish navy yourself.
Knight6831 on YouTube asks, would a 4,000 plus ton Type 61 and 41 have 3 or 4 4.5 inch guns, and how many 40mm bothers? What the heck is a Type 61? Never heard of that.
The Leopard class?
I can see.
Isn't the Type 61 a light tank in the Chinese army?
No, it's an MBT
the Salisbury. No, it's the Salisbury class picket frigate.
Oh yeah, he's talking about the Leopard class. I mean,
well, it's a Leopard class that has a big radar, I guess? Question mark.
Yeah.
I don't know.
To go with the Type 61, but yeah, it's a type.
What was the tonnage?
It's 2,000. So basically saying if they're twice as big.
Well, then it would be a different ship.
Yeah, it wouldn't be.
You might see something relating to the Vickers 1950s gun design, 5-inch gun designs that were looking at like 60 to 80 round a minute fire rates because they were on cocaine. The Chileans actually bought some scaled down to, I think, 4-inch guns that had I want to say like 40 rounds a minute per barrel fire rate.
So, yeah, but there you are, Knight. It's basically not. You're talking. You can't just because you can't increase the tonnage of something by that much, basically doubling it, and then just say, would it have extra guns and bofors? You're talking about creating an entirely different ship, which would then lead to different design requirements, ergonomics, which would lead to a different whole process. You'd have to run through the draftsman, and then you probably end up with an entirely different ship with a different set of mission profiles. Well, yeah, the Westland Wasp was a good helicopter, and so was the Skyrocket. Yes, no one's denying that. No one is denying that the Westland Wasp was a good helicopter.
I am. It looks dumb.
Well, yes, but that's
Next.
not. That's. So did that. So YouTube question. Oh, I've actually been waiting for this one. KMS Turpitz asks, what if the Regia Elena class were built to the spec of the of Cuniberti's Colossus, aka the ideal battleship for the Royal Navy? Well, first of all, the Italian Navy is very, very sad because you have denied them their speed.
Well, that depends. Because remember that Colossus was actually supposed to be faster than the Regina Elenas. It was supposed to go 24 knots. Now, that wasn't very realistic for a ship of their displacement. The design was calling for. There was a bit of wishy-washy in some of the statistics that were proposed, but it was supposed to be a 24-knot ship.
I mean, if they can,
at least as far as the plans go. I think you would have to detailed design would probably have to see them become a larger design to actually get that propulsion into the ships.
To be fair,
and you would only be able to probably afford 2 or 3 of them as opposed to 4.
Yeah, but I thought the Regia Elenas were faster than this, but no, apparently they only do 20.8 knots. I thought they were at least a couple of knots
21
faster.
to 22 knots, depending on the ship.
Yeah, but even
the main thing with them is they actually have really good range at speed too for a VT ship.
Yeah.
But
like if you give them, if you give the Italians Cuniberti's Colossus that can do 21 knots, which I believe they could realistically do, you've basically shattered the status quo in the Mediterranean generally. Because congratulations, they're a dreadnought sits. You can't deny that that's a dreadnought battleship. The British are sat there. Well, Admiral Fisher sat there absolutely steaming. Although then again, he may just rapid build something like Dreadnought to be the first person to have something in service. The Austrians.
I think he probably would, yeah.
Yeah, the Austrians are sat there aggressively screaming as they build the Radetskis that can as the Radetzky class is being constructed, and are now screaming that yes, while they are the most powerful semi-dreads ever built, they are still semi-dreadnought battleships, which can't actually stand in the
Danton class exists, and I think would contest that. But
problem with the Dantons is they can't actually fire their secondary guns without actually throwing them off their mountings. No, I'm not joking. I found this out recently from Dr. Clark. It is honestly depressing.
Yeah, but it's French. Of course it's depressing. All they do is...
Was that with firing both guns at once, or just one, or... I'm trying to remember the conversation where you mentioned that. But I think I was there for that, and... Was it both guns at once, or was it just any gun in the turret? Because I feel like that's one of those things you could probably compensate for with staggered fire, but...
Probably. I'm not exactly sure of the specifics, but the fact it can even happen at all is depressing. Also, the Radetskis are just lovely ships. I do love them. They are very, very handsome.
You have no standards.
The best capital ships the Austrians ever designed, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll actually agree with that. The
Fuck, so, I mean, at this point, that's so obvious. Do we need to state it?
No, but it's just like he's purposely reducing his standards.
Are you telling me that you think the Radetzky class look worse than Hosh?
Yes.
Are you actually insane?
Well, hear me out, Fleet. Hosh at least has the freak show quality. These don't.
I'm sorry, you can't sit there and tell me that these aren't handsome-looking battleships, because they are.
I can.
Why? What's wrong with them, then? They look far better than anyone else's semi-dreadnoughts.
Just to return to the original question.
Yeah.
So I'm checking the dates now. So actually, assuming similar build times to the Regina Elenas, so the British will still probably have the first dreadnought in service with HMS Dreadnought herself. She built the historical timeline, right? Mm-hmm. Because because the Italian building times are extended, so even the first pair of Regina Elenas don't actually enter service until like 1907, I believe. Now for France, it's a very, very unfortunate scenario because around this time is when they're laying down the Patrie class, so the Republique class, which are the second to last pre-dreadnoughts. And where are the Austrians here?
What?
The Austrians have just laid down the Erzherzog Karl class, so the Radetzky class don't actually get laid down until what? 1907.
Yeah. And honestly,
So,
you may see one of the other forms of the Radetzky be picked. So not the one that has the twin. Either the option with the single 12-inch guns in place of the twin 9.4s will probably be picked, or the more extreme proposal of 2 wing 12-inch guns. And no.
I don't think she's going to come out as a semi-dreadnought.
No, she's probably going to... Honestly, given the simplicity of the design, it's probably going to be the single mounts. Because all you have to change then is the what's in the wing barbettes. You don't have to substantially rearrange the ship to mount the 2 twin wing turrets that you would have to do to get them on the midships. And at that point, they're not as powerful as the Italian ships.
I mean, not as powerful as kind of just standard for the Austrian experience at this point, though. I mean,
the
Radetzkys were a bigger step up in actually having like battleship caliber main guns, but the whole Austrian battle line up to this point was pretty anemic in terms of armament, so it wasn't exactly anything new.
Yeah.
Not ideal, but not new either.
No, but they would at least be in service in 1908 as first-generation dreadnoughts, so they would actually be not competitive, but they would be. They would actually be.
They would exist. They'd be there. They'd be positive contributors.
Yes, positive.
And it would
honestly,
really
can we put that on a T-shirt? Can we put that on a T-shirt for all of the weird first-generation dreadnoughts? You are a positive contributor.
Not all of them are.
South Carolina?
Looking at you.
The South Carolinas?
And
South Carolina. Hey, another good example of Congress screwing over the U.S. Navy, right?
Yeah, the Kawachis as well is a good shout.
Wait, they've got super sparring, which is a plus. Everything else about them?
Fleet, their super firing actually worked because of the hood design.
Sometimes.
Like, the biggest problem with the South Carolinas is the speed.
Yeah, they are very capable leading the U.S. pre-dreadnoughts. They cannot really work with the
Which
rest.
is basically how they were actually organized too.
Yeah.
They got grouped with the pre-dreadnoughts, like whatchamacallit, as of the August 1914 order of battle, and that's where they are, right? They're in the 4th Division, with actually, hang on, that's the wrong ship. With South Carolina, 2nd Division. There we go. Okay, that's still with the dreadnoughts actually, but that's because the early dreadnoughts. You still have Utah and Florida.
Yep.
It's back when New York is the flagship of the U.S. Navy, this most powerful ship, which is, not quite standard territory. Let's just say, but soon.
The New York's basically point the direction U.S. battleship development's going.
Well, they at least get the first 14-inch guns on, because the Nevadas are the first standards proper, but...
Yeah. I mean, the New Yorks are not... I mean, I think the New Yorks are a very good crossover between the US 12-inch dreadnoughts and the standards, and can work with both.
Absolutely, yeah.
And can work with both very effectively. Very quickly...
Yeah, I think the South Carolina didn't... Wasn't their super firing compromised by their top weight issues, if I remember correctly?
I'm not entirely sure.
So they could only use the super firing in certain sea states? Or am I getting the wrong ship there?
No, but American dreadnoughts are not my forte, so I could be easily missing information.
So that was anything on Discord? On YouTube? Nope. So let me just check the Discord. So that was about Regia Anal. For God's sake.
Regia what?
I just my brain didn't communicate with my rage my brain
having a little bit of a Freudian slip.
Oh god, I'm not even drinking. I'm doing dry January. I'm not even drunk, and I can't keep my head in the game.
Yeah, I can't drink because someone think my alcohol.
Sober Fleet is no better than drunk Fleet. What is the world
I take
coming
it that
to?
person is currently muted, Foxo?
Yes.
I heard that twitch.
What did I miss?
Admiral Wellesley asks, what would it take to prevent China from having the warlord period? Honestly, you need to have Discount Palpatine's plan succeed. You basically need to have no World War One so Yuan Shikai can keep paying his soldiers with foreign credit and solidify his power as the new dynasty of China.
Chinese Expeditionary Force to the Western Front.
No, that's not quite.
I'm sorry. Isn't China's warlord era just sort of a cultural tradition?
Like which warlord era?
Yeah.
I assume he's talking about the warlord period. Therefore, that sort of narrows it down to me to post Yuan Shikai.
We're presuming he's talking about 1920s, but it is very possible they could be talking about the spring and autumn war.
What if?
Yes.
Wait, isn't that the whole thing because
discount Palpatine.
From 1911 to 1919, Sun Yat-sen was like the head honcho, right?
Well,
he is the quote-unquote head honcho.
Yeah, it's important to bear in mind that Yuan Shikai was basically the whole early Republican period is just Yuan Shikai's plan to become the new emperor of China and found a new dynasty, as had happened in the past multiple times before. And his plan fails because World War One, and he's reliant on foreign credit to keep paying his professional army, which, if without foreign credit, cannot pay troops. Cannot pay troops, troops look for other employment behind new masters, which leads to collapse of Chinese government, which leads to warlord period. That's literally it. It's all
very interesting alternate route of what happens when if China and Japan still end up clashing in the 1930s, but China is a somewhat more functional state.
Discount Palpatine's Chinese Empire. Yuan Shikai's Imperial China versus Japan. That's
not
funny.
Really. The problem with Yuan Shikai is that he is going to die in 1919 anyway. Or was it
does he have anyone for successors as a successor, or is it going to just go to chaos after that?
Oh, it's absolutely going to be chaos because he has 17 sons and 15 daughters.
Oh God, no, we're doomed.
And then obviously all the different warlords still holds their.
So basically, we have the normal warlord period after he dies, except this time there's also a bunch of imperial successor states as well. Whoopee.
Kind of. To be fair, it depends. It mostly depends on whether Sun Yat-sen is capable of just sort of hopping in early enough and use his influence to sort of not have everything explode. But that is a very hard thing for him to do, mostly because he's Sun Yat-sen. He is not very good at this whole thing.
He was a compulsive backstabber.
Yes, this is also true.
So yeah, it is most likely there is going to be just it just falls back into the whole warlord era.
Skipping a YouTube question, Knight. What are you talking about? Oh, that wasn't there when I last looked.
Wait, Eisenhower had a SPS-43?
Yeah, Knight. Montana's question wasn't there when I last looked.
I was thinking about the guy before the ship, and that got me really confused for a second.
YouTube.
I just was looking at 80s Nimitz class photos, and I got flashbanged by this fucking 1960s radar.
To be fair, there wasn't even a question mark for that. I didn't even realize that was a question. I just thought that was a statement.
Yeah. So basically, Montana on the YouTube asked, design a destroyer to escort the Queen Mary in World War II. Oh, that's really, 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 really easy. So I'm going to go to the French. No, I'm going to go to the French. I'm going to buy I'm going to buy the hull of one of their big contre-torpilleurs, basically Mogador. I'm going to strip out the super firing guns. I'm going to replace.
How is this destroyer going to keep up with her in Sea State fleet?
See, this is why I'm buying a big French Mogador, because I need the big hull to basically make it so that it's stable enough that it can basically plow through heavy sea state with the Queen Mary, and
that's why you're buying that hull.
Well, no, I'm buying.
The doors, to be fair, actually are. Hang on, I have this data on hand somewhere.
Ah, my God, Phoenix.
Okay, so am I thinking of the wrong Contra Torpedo there?
No, yeah,
those are the last ones. They're the 8-gun ships.
Yeah,
and they had.
This is Queen Mary, the
The liner, the 35-knot liner that basically went whizzing across the Atlantic for the entire Second World War at 35 knots with no escorts,
I don't
not in a
think
convoy.
there's any escort that could have the range to keep up with her smaller than like
Yeah, but that's
8,000
the problem. The range is going to be the issue.
Yeah, this is why if I'm asked to build a destroyer, I'm having to start with the biggest hull I physically can get hold of.
How fast is
you
Queen Mary
build
making a
something
strike?
like an Atlanta size thing, and then you just label it a destroyer and you move on. Of course, you use the Atlanta hull. I'm talking about tonnage.
Yeah, so you probably looking at smallest. The large version of the Darings.
Is that even big enough?
Oh, 4,000 or 5,000
And how
tons.
fast is the Queen Mary going sustained?
Between 32 and 35 knots.
32 and 30. Okay, because the Mogador was able to sustain 35 knots in the Sea State 4. So that's pretty darn good for a destroyer. Only problem is if I could pull up my fuel consumption data here.
Queen Mary is doing 32 knots in the North Sea in the winter.
I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, because the Mogador, you're going to look at, what is this? 35 knots, she'll tap out after 1,100 nautical miles.
I don't know what would have the ability to keep up in the seas like that in an era before active stabilization.
Mm-hmm.
The function we're looking at a light cruiser hull.
Yeah, basically. If anything,
a smaller sized light cruiser, but something in the 75 to 8,500 ton range.
Yeah. So we've got time for one last question before I round out, because we've actually gone over our time. So very quickly, where am I?
Got that question.
Before we close, I've got a question for Cyclic.
Oh God, I'm covering up my head.
Go on.
It's a quick question. Do you know if there was any attempts to build a BMP style IFV off the Marder chassis?
What do you mean BMP style?
Like sort of the heavily armed IFV.
That's the Marder.
Sort of the one where you've got the one you've got actual cannons.
The Marder has a 20mm cannon.
Yeah, but stuff like that. Is it the 76
and an
in the BMP?
ATGM that's very similar in use.
I think like the BMP 1 kind of.
That's not
heavily.
Wasn't there
that's not heavily armed, and that's certainly not heavily armed.
Yeah, but I meant like essentially a cannon armed Armada.
A big.
Wasn't there the Bagel Panzer?
Well, you mean like
Panzer?
So you by cannon you don't mean like 40mm or 20mm. You mean like the 73mm Grom?
Yes, that's exactly what she means. A proper gun, basically, as in like a breach.
I mean,
no, because it's a pretty dumb idea.
You've got to understand that Grom is comparable to the 76mm on the Scorpion. It's a tiny, crappy little gun.
It's not good.
It's like it's like the Cold War equivalent of the Puteaux 37mm. That's on the SA-18, right? It's it fires basically RPG-7 rounds, but like closed breech and different.
It's also important to bear in mind that the 76 is... No, sorry, not 76, 73 I should say. The 73 on the BMP-1 is there as the close-range anti-tank system for the BMP.
Because it didn't get a high explosive round until the 80s.
Yeah, because the BMP's ATGM has a minimum range.
The mel you
I mean,
get.
every ATGM has a minimum range.
The BMP ones, when they realized that they could have a good ATGM and put Spigot Spangel, otherwise known as Concourse and Fagot, on it, Russian word. I said it with an accent.
I know, and also it only has one G. I think we all knew what you were referring to.
Well, I'm just want to make sure people are aware. Anyway, they took the autoloader off of the BMP. Well, they took the autoloader out because you couldn't get the ATGMs through the autoloader. But it shifted to being much more infantry support when you can point and shoot the ATGM at something like 50 meters away.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been some real goofy, like, little tiny infantry gun BMP-1 modifications from Ukraine. And also Syria. But large caliber IFV guns, like, there's a lot of debate on this.
You can, for most things, you can do the job better with a 20 or 30 mil autocannon.
Well, so there's two schools of thought. One school of thought is that autocannon good because you have lots of ammo and more DACA and easier to shoot at helicopters. And that if you need to shoot high explosives at things, that's why you have accompanying tanks or like
or worst
shoulder
case,
fire
your
rockets,
ATGM.
or you fire the ATGM. Right. There's another school of thought that goes, well, the BMP-3 is really nifty, and that 100mm low velocity gun, which on some of the shells is subsonic, so you could put a suppressor on it, is...
That's not what they're arguing, but it's
no, I know, but that is the hilarious anecdote. Anyway,
the 100mm gun being able to chuck a big high explosive shell at things is really nifty. There's now the gun launched ATGMs are a meme with that. What you would ideally want is you would have your 30mm cannon, your 100mm cannon, and then an ATGM pintle. There's also like the 35mm, the 50mm that's just a 35mm. They necked the case out so it's straight instead of having the shoulders on it. 40mm in various flavors, 57mm. There's people sort of bickering all about what works, and we haven't had a big enough war for there to be a decisive, like,
yeah.
Frankly,
and
most of these probably
a war
work fine.
Battalion size attack is a huge major attack. Is not
the big issue with a lot of the bigger calibers, 35mm and up, especially the 40mm and 50mm. 50mm, the American 50mm less so because it's just a 35mm. But you start running into ammunition capacity problems.
Yeah.
The 40mm Bofors guns and the 40mm CTA have very small magazine depth. The BMP-3 does still come with a 30mm coax because that's your primary anti-armor weapon.
Yeah, the 100mm is there to lob HE and smoke.
No smoke, just HE and ATGMs.
I actually thought they had smoke. Damn, never mind.
You've got smoke on the vehicle. There's
they've
smoke
got
grenades
smoke
right there.
grenades that actually go out quite far.
And the Russians are really anal about artillery and mortar-delivered smoke as well.
Yes.
They have two different types of smoke grenade. They have ones that fire forward about 100 yards and go on the ground, and then they have quick smoke that blows midair to screen you. Also, the Ukrainians love to put automatic grenade launchers on all of their vehicles. So all those Ukrainian, like 30mm gun turrets for BMPs, they all have a coaxial 7.62 machine gun and a 30mm grenade launcher and two ATGMs.
That's insane. I love that. That's just all of the DACA. That's not some of the DACA. That's all of the DACA.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, speaking of, that large-scale war and stuff, I guarantee you that some Italian will go, 3-inch gun. Auto-loading 3-inch gun.
No.
Oh, no, it's silly, but some Italian will try it anyway.
No, the Italian military is not that. I have to hit that with a baseball bat.
Who said anything about the military?
The Italian arms industry is not that stupid.
The Navy loves a 76 millimeter and everything. Army is a little bit less gung ho about that, even though there have been some proposals by defense companies. But
one thing, IFV put a 3-inch gun on that. You deserve to be beaten with a baseball bat until you.
Yeah, the plans for the IFVs, which I think I have this somewhere here.
I mean, the fact the automatic
they're working on procuring a fleet of about 1,000 of them.
Yeah, the fact the automatic as an AA vehicle was even built is still funny to me. It's just, how do we deal with close-in air defense? Man-pads? No. Gun!
Well, they did also.
Yes, I know, but
the main versions in the heavy reconnaissance version, the medium reconnaissance version will have a 30 millimeter. The heavy reconnaissance version is going to have a 120 millimeter gun.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's being used for a similar role. I would assume that the U.S. uses the Abrams.
Yeah, yep. I mean, I would guess so. Yeah.
But it's replacing the Centauro, then, essentially.
Well, in this case, it's going to be an IFV hull with a 120. Centauros will still exist, and they will also have 120s. They will probably be the same turret, in fact, but it just depends on which formations they're in. Yeah. And they're also not always used in the same brigades and such. It depends on the specific organization. But from the heavy brigades to the lighter ones.
Right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We have very much
you have one more question to answer before I interrupted you.
No. We answered the last question, I believe, already.
I mean, it's Friday night. We can go longer.
I do have a Hoi 4 game to run in half an hour.
Yeah.
So,
but counterpoint, Fleet, we could say two, unfortunately.
I mean, to be fair, I might have to go, but doesn't mean you all have to. You can keep the Theatre at Sea going if you'd like, and rename it to Fox's Fables, or whatever it was Foxo's name was for all this.
No, I think it would actually use the name.
Well done, Fleet. It was neither of those. You weren't even close.
What do you take me for? Smart?
Yes.
Wow.
No.
I was going to say.
You have surprisingly big brain. There's not much neural activity yet, but it is big.
Fleet, it's like a classic D&D system. You've got an okay intelligence stat, but your
there's
wisdom
not enough electrical activity in that brain to attract a shark underwater, but
Oh, honestly, I am so glad you guys knew where I was going with that. I was waiting for the excellent fire, and it came. Right, I am going to quietly slip out of Theatre at Sea. I'm just going to say my goodbyes to everybody now. Thank you everyone on YouTube for watching. I hope you've had a good time. I am now officially leaving Theatre at Sea in the dry dock to Foxo and Dragon and Cyclic and Moe and What is Moo. God have mercy on you.